Tell me when to turn it off.
Smyth Radio Studios. It's Carrie and Brian Smith. This is Smyth Radio. You can tweet at Smyth Radio, SMYTH Radio. And now, your host, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Good evening, everyone.
Well.
Welcome to an interesting start to an interesting show. Hello. It is the new year, and you are listening to Smyth Radio, Military Veteran Talk Radio. We're going to pick this thing right back up as if we never dropped the ball. Good evening.
As if we're starting the show right now. Yes.
Your host, Brian Smith, and
Carrie Smith.
Giving you the wrap-up of last week, all the news, telling you what they're not trying to do, what they're trying to hide from you on Friday, Saturday, early morning, Sunday, giving you the beat, the fake news, exposing it all, and letting you know what the real news is. This is the new news media, if you will, the new media outlets. We're joining arms, linking up arms with other folks like this in the MAGA movement, because when Donald Trump and his presidency is over with, it is up to us to carry the torch and keep this thing going, moving right along. And one of those partners that we've linked arms with is New Right Network. At New Right Network, just an incredible bunch of folks that are joining all of us together under one big tent, if you will. And so I put them in the show link. You click on that and follow them on Twitter as well. They're great folks, and that's the next step to this. That's the next step to this, is joining all of us together. So if this is the first time you've been on a show, I know a lot of people say, oh, hey, I'd love to watch a show. If this is your first time on the show, my name is Brian Smith. Back in the 90s, I was in the Air Force, and this is my cousin, Carrie Smith. Back in the 90s, he was in the Marine Corps. We've been talking politics, he and I on the phone, epic conversations, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 hours straight. And if you've ever had a conversation with Carrie, Vesey tweets, you know the conversation might go on for a couple hours.
Yeah. Well, it's because I'm trying to get feedback from all the thoughts that I've had for the past week.
Right.
So I have to get all of the thoughts from the prior week out to get the feedback. But anyway, so sorry about that if I've wasted a lot of your time. But
no. Hey, if you ever need to get off the phone with either Carrie or me, just say, hey, got to go, run, by, click. That's it. No big deal. With that being
I had to train Brian on that, by the way.
Yes, so. That's true. With that being said, 5 years ago, we decided to document the demise of America because under Barack Hussein Obama, it literally was hijacked. The coup was in full effect. It was going the wrong way. It was going the way of France, Britain, all of the EU, and what you see over there. That's what this America would have ended up to be. So we didn't think anybody would believe us, so we started doing audio only. This past year, 2018, we started doing video and audio. Thank you so much to our Patreons as well. Thank you very, very much. And so now we're doing video and audio. Now Donald Trump is in the fray. The whole thing has been thrown upside down because Donald Trump's now involved in this thing. Donald Trump comes down the escalator. We get fired up that we finally got somebody that's for the people. And this election will be the first election that I know of. I don't even know of another election, at least in the last century, to where the President of the United States was voted in and supported America first and the people first. There's no other president that I know of, going back to our first communist president, President Woodrow Wilson, in World War I. Conspiracy of World War I, got to see that on YouTube as well. It's a 3-part series. Blow your mind, and it puts all the pieces together, and it actually exposes the deep state people that are attempting to take over America. This started over 100 years ago, folks.
I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to share the show.
No.
I know it must look strange to you outside. I'm conscious of the way this must appear.
So is Carrie not part of the show?
Like,
no. He is part of the show.
Oh yeah. Why is the producer in the shot with the host? That doesn't make any sense.
I'm providing cover, y'all.
No, that's fine. No, Brian's good at going through the lineup of the show, so it's good.
So we're going to talk about and obviously, if you see the title of the show, we have a very, very special guest Henry Davis. H-A-H-A is not really his middle name. However, that is his handle on Twitter, Henry Davis. And he is phenomenal. If you haven't seen any of his videos or his scopes, you will be blown away. This MAGA Trump supporter is just emotional and fired up and ready to go. And it's people like him that we need in this movement.
It's interesting, people that do the fired up rants. And I was always wondering, what's the deal with Scott Presler? What makes him, he's like an activist and he's very busy and he works hard and that's great. But what's the it factor? It's that he can go on those epic rants. And Henry Davis is a master of the epic rant. And people love that because it kind of tugs on those emotional chords. It gets you fired up. It makes you want to retweet him and say, listen to this guy. And that's what's so great about it. And we're going to have him on the show, and you guys are going to be really fired up by the time you're done hearing his message. And what's interesting is what, his claim to fame, as far as I was concerned, was every once in a while I see some of his rants, and I'm like, all right, this guy's got it going on. And he also has some music videos that I actually had forgotten about. And then when I revisited them, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that song. And didn't know that the same guy that I'm liking and sharing epic rants about was the same guy that was making those videos. And on top of that, when he reached out to me initially through DM about us playing his rant last week on our show, I didn't even know that he was also involved in some organizations. I think he's a president of an organization and also a member of a national organization that's doing all kinds of awesome work with the inner city and getting people turned on to conservatism, kind of like
he just finally received his 501c3 status.
Awesome. Brian, you're in that corporation stuff. What is the difference? Not that you're a lawyer or anything like that, but the difference between a 501c3 and a 501c4? The reason that's being brought up is because there's some unrelated news with regards to border security funding.
It has to do with politics. I think one. Oh man, you called me on the carpet on that.
Well, yeah, I didn't mean
the 501c3 as a nonprofit organization. Your churches, the organizations that will receive donations or get assistance and help. They can also request assistance and help from other nonprofits in their state as well. And then they, in turn, and that doesn't mean you don't make profit. The thing is that the money that you do make. It's very convoluted. The money that you do make, reinvest back into the business and pay your payroll, and then a portion goes out for donations and whatnot.
Okay.
So
and actually,
your church.
There's a very short blurb on
there you
Google.
go.
I decided to Google it to see if there was
to save me. Thank you.
Well, and you actually have a pretty elegant answer, but then here's just a real simplified version of that. Nonprofit organizations, difference between 501c3 and 501c4. A nonprofit organization under 501c3 is one that is for charitable purposes and is exempt based on this section of the Internal Revenue Service Code. And the 501c4 is granted to nonprofit organizations that are operated for social welfare. That's interesting. That is very interesting because there's going to be some news coming up this week about a very, very well-known organization that has just been granted 501c4 status. And I'm sure there's a lot more to it than this one-sentence explanation of the difference between 501c3 and 501c4. But that's interesting. Social welfare. Okay. Because I never knew if I've ever had contact or correspondence with anybody that's involved in a 501c4, I didn't know that I was doing that. I didn't know that was a part of that, and if so, I didn't know what the difference was. So, interesting. So what happened this week? Anything? We have a border...
Nothing at all. Nothing.
Border crisis.
I'm in a crisis.
Are you still?
Here's the thing, folks.
So Brian had to restart everything.
Yeah, I did. I deleted the app. The app we're using, and I want to give credit to Switcher.
Really?
For being a really bad app to use, Switcher.
Why would you give him credit for being bad?
Because I don't know what else to do.
Oh, you're just trying to take the high road. You always got to stay positive. You got to stay.
Switcher came on the stage very early on and was for Mac, Apple products specifically and only. Okay. And now they offer their product to PC, and since then it has gone completely downhill. Lack of options, lack of certain things.
Started as an Apple app?
Yeah, what not made by Apple. It's completely has nothing to do with the Apple company.
Okay.
But it was set up for Apple because when you do studio production, you use a Mac. You know, I mean, you could use a PC, but you're going to get laughed at. And you're going to have to take a lot of, you might have to you take medication for your high blood pressure and your migraine headaches that you get because the damn thing shuts down on you. So they were begged to go PC as well. And for those of you in the PC world, you know that you use OBS, Open Broadcast System, which is an open source product. And it didn't work for Mac for me. For me, I couldn't get it to work on my Mac.
That's remarkable.
And odds and ups and downs. That's inside ball game. So I deleted the entire app, all my settings, everything.
So he's currently setting up the show as he's talking.
Because when we brought the app up, it refused to recognize audio for
whatever reason. Are you able to
reason.
send that to me?
Oh, yeah, you want show notes now.
Yeah. Well, at least what you're talking about.
Right. So anyway, that's just a little ball game. Sorry about that, folks. But anyways, we're up and running, and we have not had an issue at all broadcasting in a long, long time, folks. So my greatest apologies to one and all. This is not normal. But with that being said, we're going to talk about the border crisis. Obviously, that was the biggest thing this week. The longest government shutdown in American history, 242 years, is currently in effect. It's still shut down. Saturday marked the 17, 18, 19, something like that. Whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they've surpassed the longest government shutdown ever. Funny thing is, I haven't noticed. No, and for those of you, and I apologize, for those of you who do not receive a paycheck but still go to work, you'll get back pay. You always do. When does that start, and for who does it start? Everybody keeps talking about 800,000 government workers are not receiving a check. And every once in a while, you'll see somebody.
Do we have 800,000? That's a lot of government
that's
workers,
the
man.
magic number that all the mainstream media keeps on saying over and over. It's always 800,000, so apparently that's the number that everybody has agreed upon. Okay. I haven't heard any different. I haven't heard anybody say, whoa, I'm calling BS on that 800,000 number. So we're going to go ahead and assume that number is accurate. And, by the way, so Brian doesn't have a panic attack right now. We're on Vimeo. Right now. We're on Vimeo, just FYI.
Is that good or bad? What does that mean?
That means we're only on Vimeo.
Oh, we're now on Twitter too, or Periscope.
Oh, is Periscope up and running?
Yeah, with everything going on, I didn't.
Because as soon as I saw that we were actually up and running on Vimeo, but not Periscope, I made the executive decision not to let you know because you...
Oh, you should have told me. All I had to do was hit one button.
Oh, I thought you were going to have to shut it down and restart. So I said, you know what? I am not going to bother him. I am so not. As long as we got a program running, we're good to go. So you're saying that we're on Periscope. Let me double check.
We are now.
Well, there you go. Well, if you are on Periscope, welcome to the broadcast that we've been doing for about 5-10 minutes so far. That's okay.
If you see down at the bottom of the screen, Carrie handle on Twitter is @Smyth Radio, and mine is @Brian P. Smith.
Okay.
Just crush it, share it, follow it. I usually go back every day or two, and all the new people who have followed me, I click followers, and everybody who's new that followed me that I haven't followed, I'll follow almost every one of you. Here recently, you got to be careful. Recently, some of the MAGA trains, there have been these... For whatever they are, they're trying to troll, they're trying to sell, they're trying to trick, there's something.
Okay.
They just started their Twitter account like last week. Yeah. And they follow you right away because you're on the train.
Yeah. The Trump train things are very interesting. If the person is on the list that's tweeted, that's usually a good chance that they've been vetted by the person who's running
Right.
these trains. And most of these people that are running these trains are pretty good. There's the DJ Trumplicans hashtag train that people are doing, which seems to me that everybody who ends up on that list is verified or vetted, I should say. Interestingly, there will always be somebody who replies to it and says, followed all, follow back, and you click on them and they're not following you, and you're on the train and you're like, okay, what's this all about? So, some people, and I give them the benefit of the doubt, they just don't know any better, but you got to watch out for that kind of stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, especially since I don't know where this guy came from, but apparently we were following each other. And he proceeded to tell me that I had just tweeted false news. And I was kind of taken back because this is a historic fact. At the time that it happened, nobody came forward and said, what you are reporting, this was like 2 years ago, the coup d'etat, not the coup d'etat of removing our duly elected president, but the GOP coup d'etat of removing Donald Trump from the general election ballot as a candidate 30 days prior to the election. That was a real coup d'etat. It happened in at least 3 states. It may have been a nationwide thing, but it was something that was related to the Billy Bush tapes, which if you don't know who Billy Bush is, he's the host of that crazy show that recorded Donald Trump secretly behind closed doors doing locker room talk.
Former host.
Who's also a nephew of the former president, a.k.a. the president or the leader of the establishment Republican Party.
Absolutely.
100%. The
100%.
rhinos.
And that's something else we do here on the show, folks. We expose, whether you're left, you're right, we expose who you are really and what your objective is.
Right.
Whether it be the Bush clan, whether it be the McCain clan or whatnot. But I will say this, though. The Romney clan.
Well, they're all the same.
However,
they're all in bed with each other.
Ronna McDaniels, at GOP chairwoman.
She's done with that family,
niece of
Mitt Romney.
Something
like that. Very close relative.
Is a huge Trump supporter. She tweets out all the time.
Could you imagine?
Lots of support for Trump. And when Mitt Romney did what he did, she slapped him left and right.
Could you imagine Thanksgiving? Wow, awkward. No, but getting back to this guy, he said what I had claimed happened false, which nobody said it was false when it happened 2 years ago. I proceeded to try to jog his memory with the facts, and he stuck to his guns and said, nope, that's fake, that's false, that's wrong, you're absolutely wrong, it did not happen. And I'm like, why is this guy gaslighting me? So I checked out his Twitter account, and he's retweeting Jeb Bush.
Oh, man.
So you got to watch out for those kinds of people. I'm not trying to sow division in the party, but, we've been reporting for a long time now that there's the Uniparty, which is the Democrats and all the old school establishment Republicans. They're all in one party.
Right.
And then there's we the people who have come together finally and recognize that we've been duped by the Republicans, and we call ourselves the MAGA movement.
And we've hijacked, literally, Donald Trump, with our help, Donald Trump has hijacked the Republican Party.
Right.
This by mainstream media. They're reporting this all day long. And I will agree, Donald Trump has done one hell of a job in hijacking this party.
Right.
And getting all those idiots to quit, whether we could stand it or not. All the Congress individuals, whether you be the House or Senate, all of them that quit this midterm election. Bye, Felicia. We got this.
Yeah.
We got this.
We need to there's a lot of people out there who I'm personal friends with that if you're watching me, I guarantee you're following these people. And you may know who I'm talking about if you followed them this week. But there's people saying, that's it. We're done with the Republican Party. We're going third party. That's the end of it. If you really respect the genius of Donald Trump,
yes.
If you really respect that, you need to say to yourself, you know what? He had a chance and a choice, and he was presented with that choice to either go third party or to attempt to infiltrate and take over the Republican Party. And he chose the latter. And he obviously was right in doing so. Now, could he have won this past one on 2016 on a third party? Maybe, because let me tell you something. Ross Perot was this close. He was so close.
Yeah, I guess so.
Close.
I
He
guess
was so
so.
close. And the thing is he was going up against a president who just won the most one-sided war in all of history, which was the Gulf War.
Right.
Incumbent. And at one point, he had a pretty not a comfortable lead, but a lead that it wasn't in question. It wasn't like, ooh, I wonder if this poll's right. No, at one point, Ross Perot was just flat out leading both Bush and Clinton.
So he quit.
He quit immediately
because that was what he was supposed to do. He was the placeholder. He was the vote stealer.
I guarantee
it was his job.
I mean, it's blatantly obvious that this is the conversation that happened. I wasn't doing this to actually win. If I knew that I was going to actually take the lead, I would have quit a long time ago. This is crazy.
That's why back in World War I, they had to get Woodrow Wilson reelected, and it wasn't looking good. So somebody tapped Theodore Roosevelt, old Teddy Roosevelt, to run third party.
Oh, gosh. Oh, God. Yes. This kind of stuff has been... Come on. You cannot be a person of any kind of respectable intelligence and not realize that when you run third party, you're siphoning off votes from one or other of the party. You have your Jill Stein or whoever that was running, was a Green Party or something like that.
Green Party.
Siphoning off votes for Clinton. I mean, what are these people doing? I mean, they gotta know if you're just gonna get 1.5% of the electorate, that you're just taking those votes away from one of the two parties. So anyway.
So if you're saying, well, guys... the DNC, folks, we're going to get to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and we're also going to get to more Russia in effect. But before that, the DNC is now announcing, people are coming out. Beto O'Rourke periscopes himself at a dental, getting a dental hygienist, get his teeth worked on.
Yeah, what is it? I need to humanize myself. Let's show a video that no human being, not a video, was it a still shot or a video? I think it was a still shot. The one I saw was a still shot.
Because they said that he was scoping it.
Unless you are a model for a textbook that's going to be issued to students in dental school.
Yes, there you go.
You are not getting your picture taken in that way at the dentist. The idea that you're going to humanize yourself by taking a picture of yourself in a situation where nobody else would release photos in a now everybody goes and gets their teeth cleaned. Everybody goes to the dentist, and everybody is put in this situation. But unless you also have people, a majority of people, or even half the people at least, releasing photos of these situations, you're not really humanizing yourself. You're basically saying, "Look, I'm a dork. I'm going to show a picture."
Okay, I'm going to throw this out there.
Everybody else is going to be embarrassed to do.
This is borderline, and if you guys don't know about these certain behaviors, I'm going to enlighten you.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
Third world behaviors are similar to that of Elizabeth Warren.
Third world behaviors. Yeah, you have to define this because this is new to me.
Elizabeth Warren and Beto O'Rourke. These are the things that they do that creep you out, that are really creepy because they have this disconnect from society, just completely disconnected. Third world countries, people that come from those countries to first world countries, display those certain types of behaviors. I actually work with some of them, and I'm now seeing a pattern from them and from other third world countries that I've known in the past.
So you're saying, like, to give an extreme example, a third world behavior would be like dropping trowel in Times Square to take a deuce. Because you have to take a deuce, and you just happen to be in Times Square.
Right.
So you go ahead and do it. First world people will be like, what?
Right, and they may even go around the side of a building or whatever, or leave dirty diapers in a parking lot, stuff like that.
Like that guy in that video in the mall
Yes,
that went
he
up
did.
to the flower pot.
Yeah, and he just sat there at the flower
It was
pot.
one of them big, giant flower pots in the corner that has like, one of the big ones. So there's like a big plant. I don't know, maybe a small tree or something. But he goes up and he's just, I don't even think he looked.
He didn't even look.
He didn't look both ways. He was just like, oh,
there's a flower
this is
pot.
a good place to take a deuce.
Sweet. So okay. Now, behaviors that aren't so rough, other behaviors that people disconnected with society, disconnected with other people watching, they're real narcissistic. It's me.
Okay.
One thing that is particularly bothers me is these individuals in a public setting after eating a meal, and say there's a kitchen in our in this establishment where there's like a lunchroom and a kitchen, so you can rinse off your stuff, but everybody's there.
Okay.
After they rinse off their plates, they actually rinse out their mouth.
Okay.
And spit it back in the sink. In front of everybody.
Wait a minute. So the sink has dishwater in it or something? Or?
You could do whatever you want with it. You could wash your dishes there.
Okay.
After eating. But then after they do that, then they'll scoop a thing of water in their mouth in front of everybody, swish it around, and spit it out in the sink.
But the sink's empty.
Yeah.
But you don't like that.
It's in front of everybody. And another thing,
it's kind of like that's like bathroom behavior for first world people.
Correct. Another thing, flossing your teeth in public.
Yeah, that would be something that you would only do in the bathroom with the door closed, or maybe the wife's in the room with you or something like that.
No, husband and wives.
Right.
Well, when it comes to children, if they're your children,
oh yeah, sure.
There are no rules to any. And see, that's the thing. You need to
get used to that.
You need to teach your children these rules. I've taught my children these rules.
Okay.
You don't do the. I mean, when you're an infant and a baby, it's one thing, but by the time you hit 4 years old, my little main man, my little wrestler, my little Grant, 4 years old, he knows that when he goes to the bathroom now, he needs his privacy.
Oh, because prior to that, it was like you go in, doors wide open, kids are playing in the other. It's your kids. It's brothers and sisters.
Right, and he wants to watch the TV from the bathroom because the sisters won't hit pause.
Oh, so he's got to go. He got to go fast. Right. He's not watching TV while he's going.
Yes.
He's missing TV.
Right.
So okay. All right.
So, but these are the things that Beto O'Rourke and these Democrat knuckleheads that are running for office are displaying. In my personal opinion, they are displaying similar behaviors, and the only thing I can come up with is that because they are disconnected from some reality.
I know what it is. You ready for this?
All right, I'm ready.
I have a theory.
Okay.
It's the gears are grinding in my head. Here's my theory. They feel like there's a need to connect with the riffraff, the common folk. This is in their head. I'm not calling you guys riffraff and common folk. They don't know. They are so elite. They are so ivory tower. They're like, and here, him and his friends, who are also ivory tower elites, are like, what can we do? And they're brainstorming. They're around the long table, with the notepads, and they're trying to come up with something. And like, I know, when you go to the dentist and get your teeth cleaned, when you're in like the most jacked up situation, have somebody snap a picture of it, the cleaner all over the teeth and just saliva and whatever, lips all jacked up. And they're probably thinking, I've seen that commercial for that game. Have you seen that game where you put the thing in your mouth and you have to and they're like, everybody loves that. They'll think of that when they see you with the picture at the dentist. And by the way, everybody goes to the dentist. But you know what? Everybody takes a dump in the bathroom too. And you know what? If you were to
close the door,
you were going to snap a picture of Beto sitting on the can, and for them to think that would be humanizing, because what? Everybody takes a dump.
Well, here's the thing. I think that they look down upon us so much.
I just don't think they know.
Well, I think they look down upon us so much that they think that we really are these peasants.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
They're the bottom of the gum on the bottom of your shoe. You know,
I'm 100% convinced that they think that we are peasants. 100%.
So that's what's happened this week, folks. People are coming out of the woodwork to run for president of the United States in 2020. It is going to be a festival of good times for us because we've got Carpe Dunkum on our side. We've got these meme makers.
Oh, the memes. It's not just like Carpe Dunkum is obviously brilliant. We have Sol, S-O-L.
Yeah, Sol, S-O-L. She is incredible.
He. I don't know if it's whoever's running that account.
They refer to that individual as a she.
Okay, because the
picture is a woman.
The avatar is a woman. Yeah. So who knows who that person is, but obviously very talented.
Yes.
It's so strange to me because I'm older and I've seen politics, I've seen pop culture since the 80s. And for the longest times, almost seems like eternity, maybe even forever if you count the 60s. If I look back to before I was born and look at the culture trends back then where you have the hippies of the 60s who did Woodstock and who were into the music, and those people had certain political leanings and whatnot. It seems like for like the past 60 plus years, and I'm not 60 plus, I'm just saying, that if you are artistically creative or creative in a way that is entertaining to people, like whether you're making movies, whether you're making music, whether you're making art.
Ben Garrison. I love his art. Ben Garrison?
Right, but he's conservative, so that was a bad example. But I'm talking if you're involved in any kind of art that's entertaining, you were a far leftist.
Okay. Sorry.
For the past 60 years.
Correct. Sorry.
And they've been using their art against us for so long, and it's like, gosh, we're at such a disadvantage. So while conservatism, since it wins logically, if you have a logical debate and you're a logically minded person and you want the best for everybody, you're always going to come down on conservatism. But if you have the entertaining propaganda factor that's always trying to propagandize the entire public at large with communism, leftism, and all that, you're going to end up with this equilibrium where sometimes the liberal wins, or sometimes the Democrat wins, sometimes the conservative wins, even though the vast majority of logical thinking people are like, well, yeah, conservatism works.
Right.
So we've always been at that disadvantage until now. It seems like there's just this monumental shift where people who tend to have creative tendencies, where they're gifted. They're gifted.
You know, and I think it may be because we grew up in this era of digital technology, programming, those things, and then you get somebody who
I saw your scope the other day. That was really awesome. Where you were talking about. You gotta reiterate this scope. Now, people watching right now are probably like, I saw that scope. We don't have to go over this again.
Some people haven't seen it.
Where you were talking about, it was either your dad or my dad told you that the Atari generation, the difference between the engineers of the baby boomers and the programmers and the musicians, how there were all these brilliant musicians of the 60s, and it's just gone. There are no millennials or even Gen X is kind of like iffy when it comes to music talent.
Right.
But my dad pointed out
absolutely.
that the talent is now in programming.
Right.
Because they were raised, whereas my dad was raised on playing an instrument.
Yeah, like everybody, even my mom, which is a few years older than your dad, still, everybody took piano lessons. Everybody had a piano. Everybody took piano lessons. That's why you can go on Craigslist and get you a free,
I can't believe
100%
mind blown,
free,
mind blown. When I was a kid,
piano that's actually worked.
You had to practically be up. You either had to be upper middle class or wealthy, or have decided to save for like over a year to have a piano in the home. My grandma did, and I have no idea how she was able to afford it, but she had it.
My mom, we had one as kids, and it was a second hand, and it was kind of rough. And apparently at 3 years old, they heard me down in the basement pounding away on the keys. And as they decided to come down about a half hour later, they realized I had a hammer and nails. And I put a nail in between every single key.
Because it's satisfying. It's very satisfying putting a nail between every key.
Oh,
There's some
boy.
satisfaction there.
Yeah.
For sure.
So they got rid of that one. And then growing up, she had another one. I don't know where the pianos come from. There was another one. And ironically, I haven't been in the house since 91. And my mom had her own place. She had another piano. I'm like, where do you get all these pianos, man? I'm just, why?
Well, it turns out baby boomer and older. I wonder how far back it goes because, Beethoven was in the 1800s.
Beethoven.
Well, Mozart goes back to the 1700s. The Beethoven was like 1800s. I almost feel like people were like, I wonder if my son or daughter is going to be the next Beethoven.
Right.
And,
when you're entertaining kings and queens, I mean, that was all the rage. You've got the attention.
Oh, that was your celebrity. That was your worldwide celebrity.
And if they
Beethoven.
And if they looked at you as something that's great, you would want your kid.
And think about it. You have a son or daughter back in the 1800s, and you know about Beethoven. You've heard his music or whatnot, and you know the brilliance. You've got to be sitting there thinking, gosh, I wonder if Beethoven was never introduced to a musical instrument?
Right.
You would never know he was so talented. What if my son or daughter is that talented? So it's probably like, everybody's got to do. It's kind of like in the 80s when everybody decided they got to try their son out for basketball because of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, all the playgrounds were like, it was like a line to play at the local playground when I was a kid. Because of Michael Jordan. But anyway, so in your scope, you talked about how the reason there's no more of that is because the kids, instead of entertaining themselves by playing instruments or whatever, or being forced to play an instrument by their parents, in the 80s it was like everybody was playing Nintendo and everybody's playing Atari, and all of a sudden there was a Macintosh, if you've ever heard of one of those. We have our iMacs here now, which is short for Macintosh, but we had, all of a sudden it's like this whole generation raised on that stuff.
Right, and that was the thing. Some of my scope, most of my scopes in the past have been like a rant, and I'll just go on a rant about politics and things like that. And on Friday, I don't know. I was feeling weird. I cut out of work early. I didn't want to be there, and I said, you know what? I got to scope no matter what.
Yeah.
I just have to. So as I went to scope, Led Zeppelin, "Fool in the Rain" was on the radio.
Yeah, it got you thinking about where are the talented musicians?
I think about it all the time, and we started talking about it in the scope back and forth about music, and I'm telling you right now. The music that came out of the rock and roll era, that came out of the 60s and 70s.
I think it probably started before that.
Well, I coined it, and I said from Elvis to Chicago.
Well, and think of it this way, too. Elvis is from Memphis, which is where, and it's funny, back then, back in the 50s, white families were saying, I don't want you listening to that jungle music. And they were referring to Elvis.
Right.
And so he grew up in Memphis where, very totally like melting pot, black, white, different music, different cultures. And he would pick up on what they were playing, I guess, blues.
Right.
And he kind of turned it into rock and roll. But that stuff goes back to the 30s.
Right. Led Zeppelin picked up on Robert Johnson, which a lot of other people did. Eric Clapton did as well, and some of the Beatles. They picked up on Robert Johnson from way back in the early 1900s and some of his music. Disappeared. There's legendary stories about him making he was awful. Nobody wanted to hear or listen to him. He disappeared for a year. He came back, and then he was just this thing. And so the legend goes he spent a year with the devil. Made a deal with the devil and came back out of it some phenomenal songs.
Right. Basically stolen.
For the most part. Yeah. So and as I depict Led Zeppelin, some of their songs, especially Gallows Pole, and some of their other songs.
Well, you always point out Gallows Pole because we listen to it. It's uploaded onto YouTube. Right. You could listen to the original version.
And it's word for word, but...
Almost. It's a different flavor.
Yeah, but definitely. And I made the comment. I said somebody invented the fidget spinner a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then somebody else picked it up and actually marketed it right. Led Zeppelin, they had the talent. They had the 10,000 hours of practice. They had what was of the day legendary. And when I say Zeppelin, I mean, I'm also talking about Clapton and B.B. King and all the greats. It was just something with the electric guitar and something with all the practice and a mix of rock and roll, heavily flavored with Southern blues in America only. That's nowhere else. It's only in America. So think about that.
Do you know
England comes to America to get rich and steal our Southern blues music?
They totally did. It's like, where did that sound come from? From Memphis. Yeah. Daggone it. So, and it's funny. I wonder, and this is all just total speculation, but I'm trying to like piece together a timeline in my head out of thin air, but based on what we know about the evolution of rock and roll. I almost feel like Elvis was so famous that there were probably artists, musicians from all over the world saying, I wonder if he picked something up in Memphis. Because like all these people were picking up blues from those geographical locations.
Right.
And they were coming to Memphis. And I honestly think that they were wondering how they can capture the success of Elvis.
Right.
And they probably did a pilgrimage to Memphis and said, look at all the music being played here. And by the way, the distorted guitar, I have a theory on where that came from. These musicians are literally on the street, kind of like what you see at NFL games.
Yeah, we talked about this before.
Yeah, with the 5-gallon plastic drum, and they're getting tips and stuff like that. Well, when you go to Memphis, there's people with electric guitars all beat up, looking like they pulled it out of the garbage can.
They're sleeping on it.
Yeah, and like a little tiny microscopic amplifier with the speaker in it and stuff like that, and they got it plugged in. They need to be heard.
It doesn't matter what it sounds like. You just need to be heard.
And so in order to be heard on these crowded streets, these loud streets, and of course you got your competitor right down the way.
Right.
In order to be heard, they just got to crank it all the way to the highest one. And they, of course, they want to hit the strings as hard as they can. And I think that it ended up just being distorted, not because they wanted that sound, but because they were just trying to make it as loud as possible.
Right. And then we got a great historian, if you will, someone who lived through this and was actually involved in this, Carrie's dad. And I find it fascinating because a lot of the music that he loved, I loved, except Jefferson Starship. I am not a fan. I'm so sorry. I can't do it. The Starship or the spaceship or whatever it did, the airplane,
yeah,
Starship.
It was the space race back then. Everything was space age.
Okay, but besides...
Doesn't space age sound so retro now?
It does. But besides...
Like, whoa, that's space age. It looks like it's from the 60s.
Right. But besides that, he was in a band. He said everybody was in a band. That's what you did. You were in a band, in a band, in a band. Everybody's in a band.
Right.
Everybody knew everybody that was in a band, and we get some of the greatest music ever because whether it be Zeppelin or the Beatles, and I don't even care if you don't like them. Like I don't like the Jefferson Airplane, Starship. However, I can absolutely appreciate the creativity and the talent that has never been duplicated again. And your dad even made the comment. He said, I might have asked a question. I said, why isn't there a cover band for these people? Cover band?
Yeah, I asked my dad this years and years ago. The same reason why there's no cover band
for Zeppelin. You just can't do it, man.
Look how long it took for us to discover somebody with a voice that sounds even remotely like Robert Plant.
Greta Van Fleet, which is what, 2020, their full album just came out last year.
So check this out. My dad said that people did occasionally try to cover Led Zeppelin, and every single time everybody's like, oh no and of course it sounded like a total train wreck. It's kind of like I heard the same thing about Pink Floyd.
Yeah, that's a tough
very
one,
few people ever try to cover Pink Floyd because it's just not going to get that sound. But anyway,
this whole conversation, all we're talking about, folks, we're talking about that of the bygone era, the baby boomer era, the new era, if you will. It's these gamers. It's programming. It's gaming. Yeah. The cell phones, the iPhones, everything. It is all technology all day long. Brought to you by some of the greatest minds in Silicon Valley. However, all of them can't be liberal. One of the biggest guys in Silicon Valley trying to keep it quiet is a conservative and a Trump supporter.
You know, it's funny. This is scary. This is off the cuff thinking right here. I mean, I've thought of it on my own, but now that we're on the show, it's a good time to bring it up. I think that the amount of intense academic work you have to do to learn what you need to learn to become not just a programmer, but somebody who's going to found a successful .com business back in the 90s that ends up turning you into a multi-billionaire like your Jeff Bezos, your Zuckerbergs and all that. They just didn't have time in their studies growing up or even interest. But worst of all, the curriculum doesn't even require it to learn the kind of civics, American history, and philosophy like the Enlightenment era philosophy. To them, I remember when I was in engineering, we were required an arts elective, and we had to choose between philosophy and psychology. And I thought, philosophy? I don't want to learn about Socrates. I don't want to learn about Socrates. In fact, I probably won't get a very good grade in that. But, psychology is kind of an interesting thing. We'll learn about the brain and behavior and all that kind of stuff. And literally, we were required, I think, 1 or 2 quarters of it in order to graduate in engineering.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so all we had to do was have a general understanding of it, very, very, very entry-level general understanding. We were only required to have 2 English courses. That's 2 quarters. That's like a half a year to graduate with an engineering degree. Okay, so
that makes a lot of sense why some of these engineers have problems spelling.
But here's the thing. So here's people that they become a god of an alternate universe that they created, such as Facebook, Twitter, or Amazon is a tangible company that delivers books and now they deliver everything. So that might be a little different. But in a way, he's kind of the god of his company, terrestrial company. He's got. But they didn't learn the necessary philosophy to avoid the pitfalls that human beings have fell in for millennia.
And when you become that rich, that fast, that successful, without that extra part of knowledge, when you get there, like I've got people that I know, I'm just going to say that, people that I know that are beyond wealthy and refuse to listen to any outside source or opinion. It is all completely, I've done it. I've made it. I've got more money than I can ever spend a lifetime.
Who are you to say something to me?
I don't need to look over there. I don't have time to look over. No, don't you be telling me about some John Locke. What? I don't make no never
it's
mind.
It's funny that you say that because we know one person together that's very wealthy that is very open-minded. And I'll tell you about him after the show. But
okay.
No, he's like, no, tell me. In fact, we had no idea this guy had any money because he was just like, he does what I do. Basically,
I know who you're talking about.
Play dumb in order to learn from the people like to teach you stuff.
Right.
You just have to act like you have to treat people as if they know more than you. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, let me tell you. And it doesn't mean that they're right but all of a sudden you just start – somebody could be right about 20% of the stuff that they say. And as long as you're able to filter through the 80% that's bad and get the 20% that's good, you're going to learn something.
And I'm specifically speaking of Zuckerberg. There is no way on God's green earth that you could explain anything to him logically.
Because he's going to be like, you do realize I'm not even human, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I think he buys into that. We've gaslit him.
Yeah.
And not me and Brian. I'm talking the society has gaslit him into thinking that he may actually be an alien because we've joked about it so much.
Probably.
That he probably is like,
maybe I don't belong.
Well, I mean,
maybe I did.
I'm clearly not a normal human, so
I'm clearly better than all these things here.
I mean, for me to be so much more advanced than a normal human, or even an advanced human, I must be an alien.
Right.
So
now that we've mentioned his name multiple times, and we did get our show was kicked off of the wire our wires were cut. from Facebook last week.
They have certain keywords that you just cannot. And if you say the M word or the I word, you are definitely going to get the wire cut. It's going to be yanked right out. MUSLIM.
Oh,
I think I might have gone too far.
Spelt it.
Yeah.
Whoever dealt it.
There might be.
Speaking of that, our good friend, Scott Presler, was kicked off of the Facebooks for the M and I word.
Yeah, and the thing is I get it. You don't want to pigeonhole every single person of that particular religion or anything like that. I get that. You don't want to be. You want to be open-minded and you want to be tolerant of different religions and all that kind of stuff. But you should be also allowed to say certain truths about it. And if it's a generalization, I get it. It should be criticized for generalizing. But if it's not a generalization, like you could say something that others can generalize off of, but if you're not doing it yourself, like if you point out, Sharia law does this, that, and the other thing, I think that should be allowed. If you have a zero tolerance policy for bigotry and generalizations of people and of certain groups, I'm okay with you having those kinds of rules, but you might as well not have those rules if you cannot or do not have the intelligence to discern whether or not something is an unfair generalization or is a legitimate criticism of something that is not a generalization. So anyway, I said that carefully enough without probably flagging every single red flag on Facebook if Brian dares try to upload this onto Facebook.
Yeah.
So,
what are you going to do about it? And there was a lot of that stuff in the news this past week, and I scope about it frequently. I talk about it all the time on Periscope, and if your eyes aren't open to it, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I can talk to I'm blue in the face, but the fact remains certain cultures are better than others.
Well, and what do you mean by better? What
certain cultures allow freedom of thought.
Okay, so giving people freedom is better than taking freedom away.
Some cultures say that you have inalienable rights given to you by your creator.
Okay.
That makes you free.
Okay.
It's free will to choose as you will. Mm-hmm. Other cultures say, no, negative ghostwriter, you will be on the lockdown. We will keep you suppressed. We will keep you locked down. Don't speak, don't think. We've got all this taken care of for you. All you need to do is be a mind-numb drone and make work and give us the money. Pretty much. Slavery, man. I'm just saying.
For the most part.
Right. So there are cultures that are better than others, and you got to find that out. And you got to be okay to say that, too.
There's some nuance to that, too. It's kind of like, devil's advocate here. What if somebody said, well, in your culture, your men don't have the ability to do whatever they want to their women, and ours do. So serious?
Okay. No, that's fine. However, in our culture, we respect women so much so that we believe them to be an independent thinking human being that has the exact same rights that we do. So they can be as free as they want to be.
Yeah, but that makes you less free as a man.
This isn't a pie thing where there's only so much freedom.
Oh, okay.
See, now you're going down the whole success road,
right?
Where Democrats think that there's only a finite amount of money to be made.
Right. So freedom for all is actually more freedom than. Yeah. So it's not a zero-sum game on the freedom.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, also, I think that logic in the philosophy has to be taken into consideration. If we're to accept women and minorities as also human beings, and we say that all human beings have certain inalienable rights, then you have to reconcile certain freedoms as saying you can't harm others. Like, for instance, I have the freedom to swing my fists around wildly.
True. You're yeah.
But that freedom does have its limitations, and that limitation would be at the tip of Brian's nose.
No,
so if I'm swinging my fist, I actually have to stop. I'm restricted. I'm oppressed by law to not swing my fist across the same location as Brian's nose. So.
Right, and that's something that we teach our children.
So Brian, as a man, has all kinds of rights and freedoms that stop when it comes to oppressing and preventing freedom for women.
And as we speak about these different cultures, America, as we state here on the show all the time, America is the American exceptionalism, meaning America is an exception to the rule worldwide and in all of human history, to where the government was formed to serve the people. That has never, ever been done.
That's in theory, but what about now?
Okay, hold on. But it just come on, let's play general. In general.
Okay.
It,
Listen to him with this rose-colored glasses on.
Why are you trying to jack me up right now?
Well, no.
Because
Because
Trump is trying to get us back to the original founder.
That was a good way to segue that. No, seriously, because we have lost our way, right?
Yes.
And that's the reason why we do this show.
Okay. So now, countries worldwide, and we've had author Trevor Loudon on the show, who's from New Zealand.
Yeah.
New Zealand blog. He loves that America is that shining city on the hill, but he doesn't want to come and live here.
Yeah,
he wants his own.
That was a great question that I said that I asked him. I was like, wait a minute, you're in New Zealand. Sure, you come to America, but you're not planning on moving here permanently. You're all the way almost on the opposite side of the globe from us, in the southern hemisphere, on the other side, just north of Australia. Why are you so concerned about what we're doing and how we're screwing up? And he had a great answer. And
he said, because you guys fail, there ain't nowhere else to go.
Right. And he felt a sense of duty.
Yeah.
He felt a sense of duty because apparently America saved New Zealand from being enslaved by the Japanese, the Imperial Japanese, during the 30s, when they were just island hopping and taking over the entire Pacific.
So if you're watching video, you'll see that I just put up something on the screen there. And for those of you audio only, this is a video shot of the largest protest being held by the media is saying that this is the largest yellow vest protest ever assembled to date. And for those of you who don't know who the yellow vests are, these are the people in France that are taken to the streets against Macron, who's a globalist, taken to the streets because their country or they were under the impression, just as we were under the impression, that our government couldn't be hijacked or overthrown. Well, they never really had freedom like we have.
Not really ever.
Right. Yet now it is so dire for them that there's nothing else to do than to take to the...
How many yellow vests there are? It's a sea of yellow vests.
Whoever sells yellow vests in France has to be getting rich. And you must double the price.
Why?
Because they're going to buy them. They're going to keep buying them.
Yeah, I guess capitalism.
Supply and demand. But here's my point. And I was a little bit down on these guys on my scope on Friday, but it is true. My heart goes out to you, not to the government of France, and that's something that I've always disliked. And the snooty people in France that thumb their nose up against the military, that as we come in, Air Force members walking around in France, and you guys make fun of us, but now you're screaming you want to be like us, whatever. I feel bad for the people of France, because I know they truly desire what all human nature desires, and that is freedom. To be left alone, to live your life.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing, slavery of the mind. You hear this, the kind of stuff from Kanye West. It's when you get into, when you see past the curtain and you get into the inner circle, and you've already been out in these crowds. Oh, got somebody. Oh, we got our guest.
You want to finish that thought?
Oh, I was going to say, people don't realize that there's not enough bullets in the people's guns to stop the overthrow of the parliament or whatever government entities there are in France. Did you see how many yellow vests there were?
Shoot.
They've got to know. And then, of course, you got the kind of people that are guarding these locations that are probably on board with the yellow vests that are like, I wouldn't stop them anyway. And that's when you realize how precarious the situation is for government. And it's all, yeah.
For those of you who do not know Henry Davis, I've got a clip. This clip is on his Twitter account, and it's pinned to the top of his profile page, and I probably will get in trouble by some copyright for the music, but it has to be played. You have to know who Henry Davis is, and this is Henry Davis. There you go.
His name is Donald. His name is Donald. Donald Trump. He ain't no punk. Like a former president, gonna make America great again. He's draining the swamp and building that wall for y'all. President, US of A. Stop the Democrats, they hate and we elected him November 8th. There ain't nothing you can do. I said his name is Donald. Oh, Donald Trump, gonna make America great again.
I played that for my kids. They absolutely love it. We've got Henry on the line. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Smith Radio, baby?
Oh, what's up?
Let me get the video.
That's one of my favorites right there. I took the Fred Sanford theme because it didn't have any words to it, and I put some words to it, and now it's worldwide.
Oh, I love it.
And for those of you too young, you millennial, too young to know Sanford and Son, just Google it, man. One of the greatest shows of all time. I loved it. All right, so
what y'all got going on, player? What y'all got going on?
Man,
what y'all got going on?
We had a little bit of a rough start with audio, whatnot, but we are up and running. We're firing on all cylinders. We were just talking about the yellow vest and the freedoms that they don't have in France that we are fighting to get back here in America with Donald Trump. Yeah. We literally were going the way of Europe and only because of Donald Trump. That we can bring that back. France has no hope. They can't go back to nothing. In Britain, in Brexit, you guys are subjects. You're not even citizens. Where are you going back to?
Yeah, they pretty much screwed over there.
Oh, they had that French Revolution a couple centuries ago. I mean, they could get really nasty if they want to be. Oh, no more guillotines, right? But
right.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we were just playing that right before you came on. So what's going on? What do you got going on with the Trump movement?
As far as the Trump movement is concerned,
well, I mean, what is the, like, I just stumbled upon you on Twitter and realized, oh, you made these songs. Like, I didn't piece it all together. We had this conversation on the phone last week where I seen you here and I seen you there, and I didn't put it all together that was the same person, because like it was like over a year ago that I seen a video that you had done, and then all of a sudden I see another one. But you also, when I looked up on Twitter, you have this foundation going. So just give me a rundown of what Henry Davis is all about.
Well, Henry Davis is a guy that was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. And I grew up hard knocks and been voting Democrat all my life. And then one day, I just realized that if we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep getting the same result.
Right.
So what I did was I sat down on the couch one day and I prayed. And I prayed for something different because I voted for Barack Obama twice. And Barack Obama promised us hope, and we ended up no.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm damn sure
ain't voting for old Hillary. I'm sorry, Hillary. I don't want to get y'all banned.
Well, no.
I'm a damn sure ain't voting for old Hillary.
It's not that, man. But sometimes some people say things about her, and then all of a sudden they disappear.
Yeah. We don't want to.
They take a plane. Take a plane flight.
Old Joan Rivers, rest in peace to her soul. Anyway, I was laying on the couch one day. This is all in my book, by the way. I was laying on the couch one day and drinking a cold one, and I looked over at the TV and I saw Donald Trump come down the escalator. And I never really, researched him or anything. I just knew he was a rich guy that all the black rappers and stuff loved and talked about and envied. So I said, well, he came down the escalator and it was like he waved at me. In my spirit, it was like he waved at me. So I listened to him. And when he said, we're going to have security for our country, we're going to get the unemployment rates down. He said that we're going to do something for the black community, help the black community. And then that was just like, I was like, are you kidding me? And then when he told me that he believed in the Lord Jesus Christ, he's a God-fearing man, I was sold.
Yeah, there was a lot of it's interesting, the evangelicals went very, very heavily for him in the election. And I guess you would call them far right conservatives, like the establishment wing. They were trying to tell evangelicals or anybody who considers themselves pretty religious, don't vote for this guy because he has all these sins. Look at all this stuff that he's done. That real Christians wouldn't do that and all that.
Yeah.
And they believed that this was a God-fearing man. And they voted for him. It's interesting. It's a very interesting dynamic.
Here's the thing, though. The evangelical leaders, they rallied behind him. One of the largest votes of Christian votes went to Donald Trump. And the Democrats don't understand. And this might be from generations past, but the Democrats don't understand. The new Christian today has come full circle and understands that we all sinners.
Yeah.
See, the Bible says that he without sin cast the first stone.
Right. And you can't do that.
And if you are without sin, then go ahead and cast the first stone. And with that being said, I think that's why the evangelicals got the word from God that, hey, we need to go ahead and put this guy in office, because if we don't, all of us going to be walking around talking about Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, there ain't no lie about that. Ain't no lie.
Period.
Christian,
that's what No Rock Obama was all about. It was his mission. Man, the man gave the Taliban $1.8 billion in cash.
Yep.
Come on now, that's the enemy. He gave them people cash money. That's why they're over in Dearborn, Michigan. They don't even assimilate with us as Americans.
And
this
week, you're absolutely right. And this week, Mike Pompeo dropping the hammer. He goes over there to the Middle East at the same place that Obama gave the speech to the Muslim Brotherhood about how I'll raise you all up. Mike Pompeo, I don't know if he mentioned Barack Obama by name, but absolutely ripped into Obama's speech, Obama's policies. It says this is not the apology country. We don't. There ain't no apology tour coming from us.
And nobody give a damn about what that man did before he was president. All we know is that once he raised his hand and took that oath, he has been doing exactly everything he said he was going to do.
Yeah, Donald Trump, for sure.
This thing with the left, the only thing with the left is it's all about votes. Because I truly believe that the Democratic Party understands that they're losing everybody.
Right.
They're losing everyone. And I think they won the House on some fraud, but hey, I have no proof of that.
I'm with you on that too.
They get these illegals. Get these illegals in here to vote. They get these immigrants in here to vote Democrat because they're going to give them free health care. They're going to give them free welfare. They're going to give them free housing. And they're going to give them a big-ass loan so they can open up their business and won't charge them taxes. Come on now.
I know. I think they're tax-free for the first 7 years of their business when they come over here. Something crazy
let
like
one of us be tax-free.
Come on.
For 7 years.
How about you give...
Yeah, we'll own some gas stations and liquor stores, too.
How about you give some of the military veterans that come back, how about you give them tax-free just for a few years until they get back on their feet. I'm serious, because when you come out of the military, you literally have to restart your life when you get back out of the military.
Well, this is a good segue. Henry Davis is, in fact, a military veteran. Can you tell us a little bit about your background on that?
Signed up for the military, the Marine Corps in 1990, and did a little bit in Desert Storm, and that's pretty much served my country to the best of my ability. There was some ups and downs, and throughout that, met a lot of famous people doing some background singing and things like that. But once I got out of the military, it was just like, why did I even go in if I'm just going to be an ordinary person?
I know, and not only that, but
I can't get nothing.
Right. Kerry was in the Marine Corps. I was in the Air Force. We both, he was a mechanic on aircraft on the Harrier. I was in the machine shop for the F-16s. We get out of the military, never again to ever be allowed to touch an aircraft.
Without like lots and lots of extra schooling. And it's like, what? Yeah,
that don't sound right. But about my foundation, it's called the CUP. Okay. It's called the Conservative Urban Project Incorporated. We are incorporated through the state of Missouri. We have our EIN number, and we are non-for-profit 501c3. And what we're doing with the CUP is we're going to, with the help of this of the Donald Trump administration with Pastor Darrell Scott and Kareem Lanier, we're going to hopefully bring some revitalization back into the black neighborhoods. They have trillions of dollars that are ready to be poured back into the black community. So I started my foundation and bought a big piece of property and right smack dab in the hood, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the homeless veterans.
Nice.
I'm going to go for the ex-felons, and that's going to be in association with the prison reform.
Right.
I'm looking for single moms and dads.
Hey, speaking about that, how angry? Because I am. How mad are you that because you're going to be working with former inmates, that mainstream media completely blacked out Trump's prison reform?
I ain't mad about it because it happened. I'm not mad about it. I would be upset if it didn't happen. They blocked out a lot of stuff, but I'm not mad about it. Only thing I'm concerned about, see, Bill Clinton did that. We can't cuss on here, can we? We can't cuss.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm ready to go in.
We won't get a fine, but yeah.
Okay. Bill Clinton started that with that 3-strike policy, and that was directly targeted towards the black community.
Absolutely.
And what the Prison Reform Act is doing, the prison reform is taking as long as the law applies to you. Now, we're not talking about letting out murderers and rapists and stuff, but you caught a little punk, a little dope case, or violated your probation because you had a little weed on you or something, and you had a 15-year bag up, and then you get out. And say, for instance, you driving down the street and you violate your probation, you got to do 15 years.
You got to finish the time that's on the shelf, right?
Exactly. That's why he pardoned Miss Johnson.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. That lady was in jail for almost over 20 years because of some drug cases. Black people, and I'm talking about black people in general. Black people get, we get probation and prison time, but illegal immigrants get amnesty and freedom.
Oh, that's got to be. And you know what? Black Americans, any minority Americans got to feel like they have been put on the back burner to illegal immigrants, which are, in fact, foreigners. They're not American. And It's like, how can you even be patriotic when your government is doing that to you, And that's why I think that people are really loving that Donald Trump is putting America first, putting Americans first, everybody.
Yeah. I purchased a cargo van today from a black guy and didn't have any idea that he liked Trump. He didn't know who or what I was about. And when I asked him, I said, hey, man, how you feel about Trump? He said, I love him.
I do that all the time.
Baby, I gave him a big hug. I said, we got us a conservative, baby. Come to find out, he's a Marine.
Oh, nice.
And he's out here trying to, redevelop vacant houses and things like that. Kind of what we're doing, but we're on a much larger scale. So I think that after he talks to his tax advisor, or whatever, he's going to just actually give us our money back and donate that to the cup. And I'm excited about that. I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about we're going to be able to help a lot of people, man, with this whole urban revitalization coalition initiative.
Yeah, because originally you were talking about some St. Louis stuff, but then also this is nationwide, right?
Yeah, this is nationwide. They're going to be going to different cities and doing rollouts, and this is some of it is subsidized, but all of the money is private investors. The government is not putting up the money, so there's no taxpayer money. These are actual people that we probably will never meet in our lives that has all this money and willing to put money into the funding to bring back our urban communities with jobs, education, housing, drug rehab programs, and that sort of thing. So I'm really, 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 really excited about being a part of that.
Well, I mean, think about it. If there was ever a time to start something like that, the time would be now. I mean, you got to strike while the iron's hot. And with this economy, even with the Fed, who should be fired, even with the Fed, fired, the Fed should be gotten rid of, even with that. Donald Trump's economy, the ideas, the policies, the deregulation, the booming economy, and then the jobs numbers just come out. Jobs numbers come out for December. Blew everybody's mind in half. 315,000 jobs added in the month of December. Doubled anybody's expectations. Doubled.
I remember No Rock No Obama, aka DDN, didn't do nothing, making a speech saying, "And you're going to bring those jobs back." How are you going to bring those jobs back? Well, listen here. If you're listening, DDN, they're back. They're back. And they're prospering. Yeah. And it's a great feeling to be alive right now in America.
He had that magic wand.
Yeah. No, it's amazing because what's really interesting is at the time, I remember thinking to myself, I mean, he's got a point in that this is going to be tough. But, and that's the thing about America taking the chance on Donald Trump is that, if there's one person on earth that has a chance to win it, that could possibly pull it off, that could maybe pull a magic wand out of their butt, it's going to be Donald Trump. Right. And he, you know what? It looks like he's doing it.
He's savage, man. Yeah. He's savage. He'll go off on you, cuss you out in a minute, and then turn around and shake your hand. As long I say he's the greatest negotiator in the world. Look at what he's doing. He got rid of NAFTA. All of this NATO stuff. He's working. He got old Rocket Man to shut his damn mouth.
How about that?
One rocket. How about that? He ain't shot one missile. No. Because we ain't playing no games, baby. We ain't playing no games. Go Trump or cry is what I say.
Check this out. And this was during the campaign very early on in the campaign. And I had the audio clip. It's somewhere, but I had to bleep it out. But Donald Trump said to the whole crowd, he said, "You know why we got problems with the Saudis and the oil prices and the gas? But you know why we got problems with that? Because they ain't got nobody to go over there and tell them to stop raising that effing price." And he dropped the F-bomb on the whole crowd. I'm like, that's what I'm saying. I'll go over there and I'll tell them, you ain't going to drop that effing price.
Right. I mean, that's why I say he's savage, man. I mean, when he first came out, some of the stuff that he was saying, I pretty much love everything I said. The only thing I ain't like about what he said ever is when he called Omarosa a dog. Not only that I didn't agree with that because she was black, but you shouldn't call any woman a dog. But, I turned around and called her B-I-T-C-H. It went viral because,
what she was doing was totally wrong. But I get you on that. But
check this out. I made that video when I went off the deep end on her. And that was right after the Obama sit your ass down video. And if you notice, you haven't heard anything from Omarosa since.
Zero.
Do you know I have a little inside
When
information?
I talk, people listen, brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something else about that that may have contributed to it too. You know, one of the big things that ended up getting her fired has something to do with she was trying to have that wedding in the White House, and that was not going down. And for whatever reason, she wanted to have her wedding at the White House. And I heard unsubstantiated rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but it sounds like somebody believes that Donald Trump paid for her wedding after she was fired. After she was fired.
Yeah. Donald Trump has done more for black people than any other black leader in this country has done. You know, he's getting people out of jail. He's getting us off of welfare. He's putting money into the black community. He has the prison reform going. You know, even you know, people got to understand this man was given an award with Rosa Parks and Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Him and Jesse Jackson were partners, you know. He has Herschel Walker on his team cooking his food.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on and on and on, and what he's doing for black people. But again, black people have been so accustomed and brainwashed into being on the Democratic plantation that when Donald Trump comes along, as long as the media continues to push that narrative, then we're going to continue to believe that. But it's people like me, people like Candace Owens, people like Kareem and Pastor Scott and Hotep Jesus. All of us are actually standing up, taking a stance and say, we're not having it anymore. It's time to do something else.
Shout out for a friend of the show, Pastor Mark Burns.
Yeah.
Good guy. Great guy.
He's great. He'll fire up a crowd, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
No, but I absolutely, we are definitely in the same boat with you. So let me ask you this about your political views.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you're a capitalist. That's obvious. But when you were voting Democrat, were your political views towards businesses, towards jobs, was that something that the government created, or was that? I'm torn how you were voting
Democrat because everybody else was voting Democrat.
So you didn't know any better. You didn't know that you were voting against your own interests at the time.
No, hell no. I just thought that because we were black, we supposed to vote Democrat, and all the white racist people vote Republican. And that's the narrative, and that's what I've been doing all my life.
That makes sense. So really it's about propagandizing people into thinking that Republicans hate them.
Yeah.
Well, we got a brother-in-law, and I absolutely I just absolutely love the guy, a black American, but a very successful capitalist.
Hold one second.
A very successful capitalist. He owns his own business. Just very strong. When he
go ahead.
Yeah, when he sets his goals, he's a huge capitalist. When he sets his goals, he will get it. He will make it happen. Tons of energy. Yeah. Just a great guy. And when I first met him, I came back to Cincinnati. I first met him in 2012. He voted for Barack Obama both times. And slowly I started to plant the seed. I said, "Man, you're a capitalist. You're a capitalist, man. Come on."
Man.
And
I'm an independent. I'm to the point now, man, to where as long as you're about security, and for this country, I don't care if you're Democrat, Green, Tea Party, Republican, Rainbow, whatever you are. As long as you're about prospering this nation and doing something to uplift this nation to become the greatest nation in the world, I'm all for you. So I got conservative views. I know some very, very fine Democrats. As a matter of fact, I'm working with some Democrats. I have to here in my city to get this, my foundation going. So I really don't label myself, but when I run for mayor of St. Louis in 2020, I'm running as an independent.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, you gonna get that.
That'll be great.
I gotta get the money though. I gotta get the money.
Right.
So your last viral video, you were trying to urge Donald Trump. I'm sure he probably saw the video because it was pretty popular.
Oh, my kids loved it.
You're trying to urge him to stand his ground on this. What were you thinking when you made that? Like before you made that video, something compelled you to make that video. What were you thinking?
Because I kept looking at Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer saying that we're not going to do it, and we're going to, if you're going to shut down the government. And I knew that it was going to be, hard on those government employees that were going to be affected. I knew that. And, Donald Trump, my Trump is a kind-hearted person. He has a heart and he understands. But what he also understands is if we don't have security, then you won't even have a job. So I was just sitting up in the room and I was praying and I was just saying, when I talk, people listen. Somebody has to take a stance and tell, get the troops to rally and say, don't give up, don't give in, make it happen, and then deal with the rest later on. Because once again, DDN didn't do nothing, gave the enemy $1.8 billion without even asking anybody. In cash, but we can't get the money to fund the wall. Right. Come on, man.
Yeah, $150 billion in pallets of cash flown over to Iran, and the guy that was trashing Trump here recently that was over there was actually the guy that helped facilitate the money that was given to Iran. He was an Obama guy that just quit. And ripping Donald Trump for pulling out of Syria. Ripping Donald Trump for pulling out of Syria. Y'all warmongers.
Yeah,
we got to stop these wars.
How did that happen?
I think, like I said, the only thing I have so far so good.
Yeah, because
so far so good. I love the guy. I support him. Like I said, I supported DDN, and I figured he was going to do something.
Right.
And he just disappointed us as a black community. He really, really disappointed us, and I just knew that it was time to do something else. And that's my motto for 2020. Let's do something else.
Absolutely. Carrie and I are actually
do something else. Yeah, if you keep doing the same thing, you're gonna keep getting the same results.
Yeah, Carrie and I
one of those people. I'm a pioneer. I walk around the neighborhood with my "Make America Great Again" on. I wish somebody would come up and smack my hand.
Oh no, that ain't gonna do. You too big of a man
It's gonna be some furniture moving up in this.
Carrie and I here locally, we've taken we're taking initiative here locally in our city. We're joining the the local Republican Party and city. What's the positions?
Oh, city council.
The council members, just being more proactive, being more involved in our local city here. So no, absolutely, I encourage everybody.
Yeah,
if you want to make America great again, get involved in your local city councilman. Just go to a meeting, an open meeting, get to talking to somebody there, and they'll tell you, oh, yeah, we've got this position open. We got this open. Yeah, we'll get you in. We'll get you in.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The Democrats will get themselves in. And if you go out there as a Republican, they'll get you in, too. I'm just saying. Just got to do it.
61 million people voted for this guy, and all of them ain't white.
Right.
Let me tell you that.
Right.
All of them ain't white. You got a lot of closet Trumpers.
Yes.
You got a lot of closet Trumpers, that won't say it publicly, but when they went in there to hit that ballot, they checked his name. I can tell you what.
His brother-in-law voted Trump.
Yeah, we need to, there was a criticism of the stats, I guess the whole entire movement, where you were talking about how like 5% of black voters voted for Romney, I think, in 2012, which is awful. I think it was like 7% voted for Trump, which obviously needs a lot of improvement. It might have been a little bit more. And then they were talking about all this support moving towards Trump as president. We have the midterms, 2018, and the numbers were typical of what they were in 2016, 2012. So I feel like the BLEXIT and all this kind of stuff where we're trying to get
the hashtag walk away,
trying to get people, minorities to vote Republican, try to look at the ideology and realize that this is the ideology for them that's going to help make America great again for them. And because I know the narrative, it's, you just want to make America great again for white people. And it's like, no, it's for everybody. Come on.
Right. And that's BS. That's a bunch of BS. You got to understand, man, I'm Henry Davis. I don't feed into stuff like that. I mean, I'm more concerned about what can I do to help now that we have this opportunity. What can I do as an individual with my platform to improve the black community and the push for America? And that's why I started my foundation. I wrote my book.
Well, real quick, how do people find out about the foundation? We forgot to mention that. And how do they donate to it?
Okay, thank you. That's a very, very good question. I've been waiting for you to ask.
I forgot.
What they can do, they can go on my Facebook page, I have over 108,000, 9,000 followers. They can go on my Facebook page. I post a lot of stuff on my Facebook page. They can go on Facebook to the Conservative Urban Project Incorporated Facebook page and hit the donate button. Throw something in the cup. Or they can go on my Twitter handle at Henry Davis. I post a lot of stuff on there. I'm not hard to find at all.
And also, I believe the Henry Davis, when you go to that on Twitter, there's a link to a website, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a link to RD Elephant. That's the hat I'm wearing right now. Let me see if I can get in real close.
Oh, yeah.
RDElephant.com. Now, check this out. This is real cool. RDElephant.com reached out to me. They give a lot of money to the Wounded Warrior Project.
Okay.
And when they found out what I was doing, they say, Henry, we're going to open up our platform to you. And it's $4.99 one time for every membership to this platform. There's no censorship. There's no trolls.
What?
None of that stuff. Like, you can't get blocked. You do a one-time membership of $4.99. And get this, everybody that signs up with the promo code CUP, C-U-P, they give $1 to my foundation.
Oh, my
if I get all 100,000 people to sign up, baby, we're going to help a lot of people. And I expect y'all to sign up.
I'm absolutely going to sign up now.
Sign up,
yep.
And get on board with this movement, man. It's a great thing. It's going to be a beautiful thing. I have a conference call tomorrow with the White House, and we're going to talk about the next step when I'll be going to the White House, and how they're going to allocate funds and this, that, and the other. So I'm excited about that. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. But the key here is helping people. I'm about helping people because the Bible says, when you give, He will give to you.
Absolutely.
So, let's get this thing going. I really appreciate y'all, reaching out to me, letting me get on y'all platform. I'll send a couple links if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'll share this on all of my social media, and I'll send y'all a couple links to where people can donate straight to the cup and that kind of stuff. And we're looking for vehicles, materials. It's a tax incentive, with 501c3. If you looking to get something, write off some stuff, we'll help you out. We'll send you a certified letter, all of that kind of stuff. It's booming. I'm excited about it. I have some people, Marta Munson and John Bodwell is the property acquisition consultant. Gary Glardner is the vice president. So, it's only 4 of us.
Wow.
And we're making this thing happen. We're doing something with nothing. A lot more of this and a little less of this.
There you go. I love it. Henry Davis, thank you so much for being on, and make sure that you guys go and check out the links on his Twitter handle and donate. And I'm excited about it. We're definitely going to have you back on. We need constant updates on this.
Yeah, updates on this, and when you get back from the White House,
I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
Yeah, and when you come back from the White House and when you have these different meetings and things that are happening with you, we would absolutely love to share the good things that are happening with you because that gets people excited to get involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And once again, I haven't now I got to tell y'all something. The RDElephant.com is my exclusive platform. It's my exclusive platform because, like I said, everybody that signs up, we get something put into the cup.
Right.
But what I would do for you two is I will come on and and talk to y'all and chop it up with y'all, keep y'all abreast of what's going on.
Sure.
And because I really appreciate everybody that supports me. And once I make this trip to the White House, I mean, it's gonna kind of be. I'm not tooting my horn, but it's gonna be pretty hard to get in touch with.
No, that's good.
So
that's good.
Y'all kind of slid in.
We got it in the right time.
We always do that.
Grassroots, baby.
Man, don't you change that cell number, man. I got that number on redial. Don't change it.
We
Y'all got my cell phone number. Keep my number. Lock my number in. And y'all can call me anytime, man. I love to come on and chop it up with y'all or whatever. And I'm gonna send the link. And I'm hoping and praying that y'all can scratch up a few coins out the couch, put some in the cup, man, and let's make this thing happen.
100%.
All right?
Awesome.
RD Elephant. I'm going to look that up.
All right, Henry Davis, thank you so much.
RDElephant.com.
All right.
Use the promo code CUP. Thank y'all. God bless y'all. And may the windows of heaven open and pour upon you and yours an abundance of blessings. I'm out!
All right. Awesome, Henry. Awesome. Great interview. And yeah, we need to have him on regularly, if for nothing else, to keep up on the stuff that he's doing. This is the movers and shakers of the MAGA movement. They're all over the place. They're actually doing the work necessary to make America great again, flat out, whether that means defeating Democrats and their agenda or it means just making it happen from the inside out, which is what Henry Davis seems like. I like the fact that we're going from the center of the inner city and we're creating something right there that will, educate people and make the city great again and do that in other cities across the nation. So we're going to be looking into that so we can be better. I'll be better able to explain to you guys what I learn about the foundation and the actual work that they're doing. Right now, it's just like, hey, check out the website, look at what they're doing there. But we'll keep up on that. It'll be great. So, all right, news of the day. What do we got?
Well, since we've been talking about the border wall, let's finish that up real quick. I got so many clips and so many things to talk about.
Oh yeah, we could talk about because there's so many people weighed in on it.
Everybody weighed in on it. So we'll go real quick. We'll just buzz through it. Sean Hannity had some breaking news. Federal agents detained 27,518 illegals on the border in the month of December.
Wow. So 1 month you had almost
30.
That's almost 1,000 per day.
That's almost 1,000 people per day.
It's like at least 900 people detained by federal agents from what? These are people that jumped the border or people that they found?
Yeah, attempted to.
Okay,
jump the border.
Yep. Okay, so that's obviously a problem. So would you or would you not call that a national crisis?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. 100%. Well, let me get your take on this.
Yeah.
Because people are kind of going back and forth. And I know, Carrie and I, we have not we used to talk every day all the time about politics, but a lot of times we try not to do political talking back and forth because
we want to leave it for the show.
Yeah, we want to leave it for you guys. So
because we can't recreate it. This is totally off the cuff. We don't rehearse. If we were to talk about something and then try to recreate it in the show, it would not happen.
Yeah, there are other people that we know that would never, ever, ever go live because it has to be meticulous and perfect and...
We like it when the camera falls off the wall. Okay, so before you lose your train of thought, what did you want to ask?
So what is how do you feel about Donald Trump calling a national emergency? Do you think that's a good idea, or do you think he should do something else?
Well, I'll go ahead and tell you what I was thinking and give credit where credit is due. My initial thought was, oh, man, if you bypass the normal proper channel of having Congress allocate the funds for the wall in the proper way, and of course knowing that they're Democrats and Donald Trump is their sworn enemy, that some compromises, he will basically have to pay them in promises and all kinds of stuff that we don't like in order to get reimbursed for the wall. So there'll be some give and take, negotiation. We'll have to give in order to get, right? But that's just the way it's got to be. The national emergency looks like you're bypassing it. And this is what I'm thinking in my head. And also, seems a little extreme, right? That's what I was thinking at first. Seems a little extreme to go that route. When I was thinking national emergency, I'm thinking, there's a war, or maybe there's a giant Category 5 hurricane about to hit. Several states will declare a national emergency or something to that effect, or a bunch of planes flew into a bunch of buildings in Manhattan and the Pentagon and all this. So these kinds of things. Will Chamberlain, who I follow pretty closely. I used to follow him a lot less closely, but he's been coming out with some great scopes. Very, very knowledgeable and very educational when you watch his scopes. He is a lawyer. And he's also a curious lawyer. He's curious, and he has time, because I think right now he's in between jobs. So he dives right into this stuff. This is his work at this point. He decided, well, let's see what kind of national emergencies we've had in the past.
And how many are actually are there any national emergencies right now active?
Right. I assumed
there was
probably had none.
Right.
Turns out that as we speak, as you watch this scope right now, according to Will Chamberlain, we currently have 28 current ongoing national emergencies.
And some of them date back all the way back to Nixon era. Nixon.
Okay, so apparently
that was by Breitbart News. They did a little write-up about that.
Mm-hmm.
It may have got it from Will, maybe not, but they added into it and said, here's some that are from Nixon era that have been continually renewed. Here's some that have not.
And I'll tell you one that's the most one that people will be like, oh, I know about that. And it's not currently active because it was allowed to go inactive. It was not re-signed because the emergency went away. But a national emergency was declared for the swine flu. The swine flu ended up killing 12 people in America, 12 Americans. Right. And, of course, there was a worry that it was going to kill a lot more, but it only killed 12. And there's other national emergencies that you kind of leave you scratching your head. Why is there a national emergency for this? Out of the 28, some of them are just kind of like, really?
And apparently Trump renewed one from Obama here recently.
Yeah, apparently there's some sort of a civil war or something going on where there's violence going on in some region of Africa, some country in Africa, and it led to Obama declaring a national emergency. And as you could imagine, he probably did the national emergency to expedite his ability to act. It came up for renewal 2 months ago, so President Trump looked at it and said, "Oh, yeah, we better renew that. We better renew that." Yeah. So Donald Trump felt that was enough of an emergency, and by the way, so did Obama.
Right, and you when you did declare the national emergency, then you can allot money.
Well, the executive branch can then deal with it with their own funds, apparently. I think that Will made a very good argument that the stuff that's going on at our southern border far exceeds a vast number of our current ongoing national emergencies. And if that's the case, it sounds to me like the bar that I originally personally had set for what would be considered a national emergency is clearly a lot lower than what I thought it was. Therefore, I don't think it's that big of a deal to call for a national emergency. Now, since then, and since Will came out with his initial video that makes the case, both Ben Shapiro and somebody else who's extremely famous, I can't remember who it was, have both come out with pieces that basically say that Donald Trump should absolutely not do a national emergency. One of the arguments was, well, if Donald Trump decides that anytime he wants something that requires congressional approval or allocation of money, he bypasses it with a national emergency, then a future socialist like, let's say, a President Elizabeth Warren will then just bypass Congress all day long, including on things such as global warming. Relax, everybody. Will Chamberlain came out with a additional. I don't know if he wrote it or if he came out with another scope, but he addresses all that. He calls them all dumb.
Yeah, I was about ready to say. I was about ready to talk about dumb.
Yeah, so he backs it up. His ad hominem of calling them dumb. He backs it up with facts. So maybe it's not so ad hominem to call somebody dumb when it's substantial.
Yeah. Well, here's some other things that I had found out over the past week. Apparently. Just this past year, changing over from 2018 to 2019, the Department of Defense, the DOD, had to return to the Fed, had to give back $23 billion because they didn't spend it. In the government, the policy is if you don't the policy is if you don't spend it, you have to give it back.
Okay.
So they gave back $23 billion, which they said represented a fraction of their budget, like 1% of their budget. I know that's scary to think about. But that being said, I said on my scope that Trump could have used that money to redirect that for the wall. And then people on the scope start bashing me saying, oh, you need Congress to approve reallocation and blah, blah, blah. However, I got to reading some things.
Now,
and
who's $23 billion was it?
DOD, Department of Defense.
Okay, that's part of the executive branch.
And I came across an article that talked about the regulation that says he could use the money if he could show that it would benefit the military, the armed forces, the services. It would be a benefit to them. And my argument is it's a safety benefit to border agents, security, the National Guard, the Army Corps of Engineers, whoever builds this wall, it will be safety for them so that they don't have to defend the border without a wall.
Yeah, and we're not defending just the border. They call it the border, but it's the border of our country. So you're actually defending the country.
Right.
Yeah, so in the preamble, the Constitution says that we the people, in order to form more perfect union, provide for the common defense. And they put that language in there because the founders of our country and the writers of our Constitution are very well versed on philosophy, and it had been determined by them through their education that this is what a government is for. Because you got to put yourself in the shoes of the people way back then.
Right.
They were under British rule. They're across an entire ocean. As far as they were concerned, it was anarchy.
Right.
I mean, who was really – like they just had some local – maybe some local law enforcement. But as far as they were concerned, they're just out farming. And as long as they can fend off poachers and attacks by Native Americans – they're whatever. As far as they're concerned, what the hell's government for? And it was determined by them when they founded our country that if there's one thing, if we really need a government, we need to be providing for the defense.
Like their biggest goal, their biggest reason for existing is to provide defense of the citizens.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. I'm not trying to sidetrack you too much as the last thought on this. You know, if our own government is actively working hard, long hours, lots of man hours, lots of people all putting together to try to figure out, lots of lawyers, try to figure out how to prevent foreigners from just waltzing into the country without us having any idea why they're here, what their motive is for coming. And we're talking massive numbers of people, 27,000 people in 1 month.
Almost 28,000.
Close to 1,000 a day. At that point, you have to start questioning why we have a federal government whatsoever, and if we would be better off just dissolving it.
And if socialism is so great, it'd be a smaller, cheaper, and quicker trek to go to Venezuela. What the hell y'all coming here for?
Right.
Okay, so another thing for the DOD that really made me upset this week, the DOD back in 2017, the term from 2017 to 2018, Trump was president for 1 year exactly. DOD had to give back $34 billion that year. So all told, the DOD has given back to the feds, because they didn't spend it, $57 billion.
Interesting.
That could have been reallocated for the purpose, Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell.
Where does this money go, and can it be said that this is money that it would have to be considered part of a surplus, right? How are we still in a deficit? How are we still having budget shortfalls when we have so many billions of dollars that were originally allocated as part of the budget for these departments who are now underspending and returning billions and billions of dollars? I mean, it's kind of not the topic. I know what your argument is we have the money for a wall, the full wall. And some people that talk about $1 billion or $5 billion. I think the GoFundMe for the wall for private donations was originally $1 billion.
It's still $1 billion is the goal. Still $1 billion is the goal. and they are currently, as of within the past couple of days, $20,411,676.
Well, what I'm saying, my point is the budget. They're saying $1 billion that he just willy-nilly made that as his goal, I guess, on the GoFundMe. But people are saying we need $5 billion, $5 billion, $5 billion. Well, I've talked to people who said, well, actually, the full-on wall, exactly the way it should be, fully funded, would be anywhere from 20 to 28 billion, 20 to 28 billion. But you're saying that there's departments that are giving back more than that, sometimes double that.
Right.
That being said, I mean, it's paid for. Now,
politics as usual. The Demon Rats, and the establishment GOP. You guys know this stuff. See, you guys know the ins and outs. You guys know how to funnel things left and right. You know how these things work. Donald Trump did not when he entered office. And I don't think he realized how deep and far and wide the swamp is that you all live in. However, that being said, 2 years into it, he's getting a really solid grasp on what's going on. Dig in deep and not give in to you fools. You're a bunch of spoiled brats that have been running wild and loose with American people's money for decades.
Yeah,
pox on you and pox on your house.
Yeah, they don't have any respect for what money is and what it means to our country, our budget, our deficit, our interaction between countries internationally. It's really sad.
So I was telling you before, the GOP, Ronna McDaniel, at GOP chairwoman, she tweeted out, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are not negotiating in good faith.
They are not.
With real Donald Trump. Instead, Congressional Democrats spent the weekend on the beach with lobbyists. It's time for them to get back to Washington and work to secure our border and reopen the government. DEMS on the beach at freedom_moats. Freedom_moats. I was like, man, I got to put this in the show notes, and you guys got to see this. So
really?
Moats, for those of you on audio only, you're going to have to bear with me, but for those of you on video, you can clearly see the first tweet. He tweets out, this week while Democrats were sleeping, picture shows Donald Trump working in the White House, suit and tie, at the desk. Donald Trump takes a trip down to the border wall to visit Border Patrol. And that was the other thing during Christmas. Had dinner with them, had a big old feast with the Border Patrol agents, talked with them, hung out with them. That's another picture of that. There's also another picture working hard with other agents
he's like
and
chronicling this very closely. Yeah. Okay.
That's why I had to put this up for you guys.
Yeah.
And so he's going through this one by one, working hard. And then another.
This is at freedom_moats, MOATES, in case you're having trouble seeing that on the screen. Some people watch our show with their phone.
Oh, that'd be almost too small to see.
It's too small to see, but it's at freedom_MOATES.
Right, and then there's a picture of Donald down there on the border. There's some weapons. There's some, looks like maybe some paraphernalia that's been confiscated, maybe drugs, things like that. He's talking with the Border Patrol agents, just all different kind of pictures together. And then Senator Bob Dirty Dog Menendez on the beach with looks like a grandma in a bikini, kind of ratchet, unfortunate. And then Nancy Pelosi on the beach during the government shutdown. And then Ana Navarro
doing her nails while a beautiful family is without their father and husband. Wow, what a side by side that is. I mean, she is such. Does she not? She just doesn't care. She's just so unaware of herself and her situation, her surroundings, the country's situation, this family situation, and she just doesn't get it. It's just really disgusting.
The woman on the left and the 5-month-old baby on the left will never,
they're destroyed,
ever see their husband or their daddy ever again because of an illegal alien who should have never have been in this country.
And I made the argument, too,
Ever.
that there's a good chance that illegal alien murdered this cop because he's an illegal alien. I know the argument is that, well, they somebody actually tried to say, and I don't believe any stats. I've seen so many stats used improperly in order to perpetrate a lie that I don't believe any of it. I have to look at all of it down to its minute detail to even agree with any arguments made with it. But somebody's trying to say that, but illegals commit crimes at a lower rate than American citizens.
That's not true. That is 100% false.
Let's say that it's equal. Let's say that the odds of having a crime committed against you is roughly the same.
Okay, even if it is, the real number is 2 to 1.
I tend to believe
they commit
Brian.
2 times more crimes per capita, per size, 2 to 1. They commit twice as many crimes as Americans do. And technically, if you want to say that the first crime they committed was illegally crossing the border, then it's 100% more than 100% of them break the law.
Let's take that off the table, and let's take let's assume halfway between what Brian's saying and what the liberals are saying, and let's say it's equal down the board. What I'm saying is when the cop pulls over an illegal immigrant who's driving drunk, and he knows, based on his prior record, that what's about to happen to him will lead to him being deported. There's a good chance, probably I'm willing to make the conclusion, that he decided to kill this cop in hopes to get away with what he was doing and not be deported.
Yes, because he ran away. He got away, and he was aided and abetted by the other illegal family members.
Right, because they knew that he was going to be the family members don't want any of their family members to end up in prison or deported, so they end up covering for him. Hopefully they're all deported after they spend a lot of time in prison. And they should spend a lot of time in American prison, because who knows what Mexico will do with them, if that's where they're from. I don't know where they're from. But whatever country they get deported to, it's very possible that they'll be like, we don't need to put you in prison.
My stint that I spent in the war-torn zone of SoCal, South Central. Let me tell you, it is no longer South Central. It is referred to as El Centro. Because there are the black community has been run out of South Central, from the South Central that you remember from the 80s. Yeah. That is no longer a black community. It is literally all Hispanic.
It was black flight.
It was absolute black flight. They all they all took off and went out to El Segundo in the airport to the coast. But I digress. I lived there with those folks that were illegal. I had a shop because it was cheap and it was centrally located right there in the heart of Southgate, which if you look on a map, you'll see Southgate. It was between Southgate and Linwood, which was referred to as Lynn Hood because it's in the hood. But my point being, on the 4th of July, they would drive their big old pickup trucks with giant Mexican flags flying off a pole off the back of their trucks. They absolutely, all different holidays, American holidays, they would just absolute, I mean, it's not blaspheme, but it's just absolute spit in your face and just desecrate everything that has to do with America. And the ones that I spoke to, the violent ones that I had ever interacted with or spoke to, it was their land first.
Right. I was going to say that.
And they're taking it back.
Yeah, which is why they come north of the border and fly and continue to fly the Mexican flag, because they don't acknowledge that it has rightfully
in their
legally,
mind, this is their war. This is their war to take back their land.
Yeah. So they're just trying to, they're basically squatting
Oh, 100% squatters. And
Yeah,
they think they
basically.
can get away with it because the demon rats are allowing them to get away with it.
Because they think that somehow America is a better place by making sure that they come here. But what they don't know is who they're bringing in are people that literally want to take back land that their ancestors lost back in the American-Mexican War.
And something
Mexican-American War.
Right, and something that they're also – it's total propaganda out there as well. Cesar Chavez Day. It's all about, Cesar Chavez Day. We celebrate and get drunk and happy. But yet you guys don't realize Cesar Chavez, he was totally against, 100% against illegal immigration. He was big into the unions and promoting the unions, and he saw very quickly that illegal immigration was very damaging to legal union working immigrants. So it's total propaganda. They will not teach that to them out there. I just won't teach them whatsoever.
Yeah.
They think it's a big joke.
Everybody's
The
being
raise is a
manipulated.
big joke out there.
Everybody's being manipulated.
Right.
It's pure propaganda.
Real quick, thegatewaypundit.com. If you don't frequent that page, you absolutely should. Especially if you have ADD like me. Some of the articles are just
Very short.
a couple sentences long with a picture.
Yeah.
Or a video, lots of videos.
But he's quick, though. A lot of times he'll break news that, like when you go to Breitbart, there'll be like a real substantial, like 1,500-word essay article, basically giving you minute details and background and all this kind of stuff. You get the same general idea on Gateway, much shorter, much more like digest
They
version.
don't pontificate.
But also, you'll get it really quick. That's what I like about Gateway Pundit. You'll get it quick.
Good friends of ours, too, Jim and Joe Hoff, twins.
I didn't know they were twins.
Absolute twins.
Oh, I thought one was a big brother and a little brother. Okay.
Jim and well, one is a big brother, one is a little brother.
Well, they're both pretty tall guys. I don't know what you mean. What do you mean by that? I don't know.
Anyway, so he tweeted out Saturday there was a Democrat breakthrough. Democrat Party finally admitted there is a crisis on the U.S. southern border, but Trump created it. As Pelosi went on vacation to Hawaii during the crisis, DC Shorts, at DC Shorts, they're DC Shorts for the Daily Caller. A Daily Caller was founded by Tucker Carlson, and they always do whenever. I don't think he's involved with them anymore, but they always give homage to him and throw him in some of their clips. So they put together a montage clip, and this is the montage clip of the border crisis that the Democrats now admit is happening.
You might even call the Democratic response manufactured.
That this is a manufactured crisis, and a crisis that manufactured by the Trump administration.
Manufactures crises.
The president has manufactured a crisis.
Final point, Steve
What
Cortez.
you just cited about criminality between native-born and immigrants, first of all, that's not true. There's a lot of conflicting studies. But even
No, there
if it were
isn't.
true,
Only when you include the
yes, there
illegal
are.
entry as criminality do you get the numbers where you want them.
No, that's not true. Yes, that's
genuine humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border.
Yes, there are.
No,
but even if that's fake news
Not
to say
real
there are
studies.
not. It's fake news.
It's fake news for
but
you to
if I
inject
were to-
BS and say that it's equal to the real data.
Party line is this is a manufactured crisis.
It's not
Continue.
BS. But even if I were to grant you that, okay, the point is the illegal alien crime rate
It's offensive, is what it is.
should be zero. It should be. You can do your nails. You know who can't do their nails? Are people who've been killed, Anna,
Boy,
by
he nailed her.
dangerous, known illegal aliens who've been allowed to stay in this country.
And the fact is, President Trump must stop holding the American people hostage, must stop manufacturing a crisis.
Because of the leftist policies that people like you promote in so-called sanctuary cities
I'm so tired
to allow
of you
them to
calling
hide
me
in plain
leftist
sight.
already.
American democracy doesn't work that way. We don't govern by temper tantrum. No president should pound the table and demand he gets his way, or else the government shuts down.
You know what? We need border security. That's what we're going to be talking about, border security. If we don't have border security, we'll shut down the government.
Well, no,
Officer
I don't have to
Singh
care.
in-
I don't
Officer
have to
Singh
care, and a
in
lot of America
California
doesn't have
can't
to care.
file his
You
nails,
love to
Anna
come in
Navarro.
here
Maybe
and
you
do ad
can.
hominem
He doesn't
attack
have that
at
luxury
me,
because
at my,
he's dead.
There is a growing humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border.
What the president is doing is manufacturing a crisis.
When I was supporting Republican candidates, when you weren't under a rock.
Over the years, thousands of Americans have been brutally killed by those who illegally entered our country.
There's
no more progress on this. But Steve, let me just tell you something. Get down off the soapbox. Because if you want to worry about who can file their nails, worry about who can pay the damn bills.
The shutdown could go on for months or even a year or longer. Did you say that? And
I did.
Is that your assessment of where we are?
Absolutely, I said that.
This shutdown is on your head, my brother. This is what the president wanted. He has it now, and people are paying the price. And until he ends it, they won't be filing their nails or doing anything else that a paycheck provides.
Could be a long time.
That's all he cares about, the money.
Could be a long time. It's too important a subject to walk away from.
I think we're getting very close to a deal.
Oh, do you? Well, that's the best thing I've ever heard you say.
He said, I think we're close to making a deal. You wouldn't have heard that because he's talking over him so much. And then he says, well, that's the best thing I've ever heard you say on this show.
On this show, I hope you're right.
We can call a national emergency because of the security of our country. Absolutely. No, we can do it. I haven't done it. I may do it. I think
DACA for wall is happening. I do.
We'll see.
They're so dumb.
We have a president who will go on TV tonight and lie and lie and lie some more.
All right,
okay, let me give you my 2 cents on this. This is important that you hear this because this is the truth. This is what you need to hear. The shutdown happens until either A, they agree to pay for the wall, or Donald Trump gets fed up and decides to declare a national emergency. Now, some people are saying he should have done it a while ago. He should do it right now. Build the wall right now. Let me tell you something. When he declares a national emergency, the greatest builder in American history is going to get that thing up there. He's going to get it funded. It's going to be well funded. All the money's going to be there. Maybe he'll tap into Brian Kolfage's donations to his GoFundMe that are being refunded. Found out this week.
That was fake news.
Well, no, he got interviewed by Mike Cernovich. He
told me that he tweeted out that Brian Kolfage, the fake news liberal, said that the GoFundMe is canceled, all the money refunded.
No. They'll refund the money if they don't say specifically that it's going to go to the 501c4.
Oh, okay. So that was the fake news that was trying to say that he had canceled it, and it's not canceled.
No, it's not that it's canceled.
They're twisting it. They're twisting it. Right. They're twisting the interview.
We'll get to that in a second. But so either A, they're going to decide to fund the wall. I'm talking about Congress. Congress will either decide, well, we better fund the wall then. Sounds to me like they're going to just say, nope, we're going to make Donald Trump declare a national emergency. But here's the thing. Donald Trump will not declare a national emergency until the shutdown somehow works against Republicans. Because as long as it's working against Democrats, he's going to say, I'm not going to declare a national emergency. I'm going to continue to work with Congress. And guess what? Every single day, Donald Trump is going to come out with something that says, I'm trying to work with them. Oh, I'm going to offer this today. Oh, I'm going to offer this today. And they're going to have people that are going to say, well,
why aren't you guys taking the offer?
If the wall only costs $1, Miss Pelosi.
Yeah.
Speaker Pelosi. If you could get a wall built with $1, would you do it? No, not for $1.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll throw $1 at them.
I don't think she. Oh, did she say? Did she agree to $1?
Well, that's where Brian went down there to go get the $1.
Well, it turns out when Donald Trump decided to have a meeting this week and ask her what. Oh. You have a video for that? When Donald Trump had a meeting with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, I'm actually surprised Nancy was so stupid to say this, but she said, when asked, you have the video?
Yeah.
Go ahead and play it.
So what really happened? The audio's a little rough, but you've got to understand that this is how it went down. Republicans and Vice President Mike Pence take to the mic after Donald Trump walks out of the meeting with Chuck Schumer, and this is what really happened. And the GOP is now calling for more cameras in these meetings because y'all bunch of liars.
Right.
I want to clarify a few things. As I just listened to Senator Schumer, I know he complained the time that you had cameras in the meeting. I think we need to bring them back. Because what he described the meeting to be was totally different than what took place. When we entered the room, the president, again, calling all the leaders together to solve this problem. He even brought a little candy for everybody. He started off talking a little bit about wanting to get this solved. He even spoke last night saying in 45 minutes, he says, but I think we could do it in 10. I want to turn the floor over, the president said, to Speaker Pelosi and Schumer. Tell us what offer you have, because we all had in our hands from the weekend's work of the vice president, and every office had staff there, about where we were.
Okay, so Donald Trump, they're showing a tweet next to him speaking of Donald Trump. Donald Trump tweeted out, just left a meeting with Chuck and Nancy. Total waste of time. I asked what is going to happen in 30 days if I quickly open things up. Are you going to approve border security, which includes a wall or steel barrier? Nancy said no. I said, bye-bye, nothing else works.
The different offers, the increases of the work that you've done to secure this border. So we turned to Speaker Pelosi. She began to argue whether we even have a crisis or whether facts are true. Turned to Schumer again, who said we just have to open the government up. The president would go back and forth in a negotiation in a very respectful way. I saw Schumer continue to raise his voice. The president then turned to the speaker and politely asked her, okay, Nancy, if we open the government up in 30 days, could we have border security? She raised her hand and said, no, not at all. The president calmly said, I guess you're still not wanting to deal with the problem. The president wants to solve this problem. That's why he continues to bring us down. That's why he's put offers on the table. Not once have the Democrats offered anything back. The entire time I've been in these meetings, they want to just argue so people can present a fact. They want to argue and debate whether what comes across this southern border.
Okay, that's about it on that. Sorry about the audio, but you absolutely, you had to hear that, folks. So the truth about the meeting, bye-bye, Nancy, the truth about the meeting was Donald Trump had pieces of candy for everybody at the table.
Yeah, they even named some of them like Skittles and Snickers and all that kind of stuff. But no, I'm glad you played that tape, because check this out. On a daily basis, be ready for it every day, maybe multiple times per day. I'm sure multiple times per day. Donald Trump is going to say the things that shows the country that they are not willing to negotiate. Now, is that for the wall? No. Obviously, he's going to get the wall, and he's going to do what he needs. He could just declare emergency and get a wall right now. He's not going to do that because he's going to punish them. He's going to make it so that the shutdown is being presented as being caused by the Congress women and men and women, Nancy Pelosi and everybody else who are opposing the wall, funding from Congress, that they are unwilling to give anything for this wall whatsoever. For any amount, whatever we give them all DACA, immunity, TPS, or all these other crazy things that they're talking about as a negotiation bargaining chip.
She won't even take that. Hey,
won't take nothing.
All you DACA folks out there, all of you who want DACA,
you're being held hostage. Your paychecks all being held hostage. If you're a government worker, all being held hostage so that Donald Trump does not fulfill his mandate that we gave him by electing him president. If we did not want a wall, we the people, this is not Trump's wall. This is we the people's wall. Because if we didn't want the wall, we damn sure would not have voted for Donald Trump. Because what did he do at every single rally that he had 3 times a day, sometimes 4, and towards the end there, 5 times a day? He said, we're going to build a wall. And what did the people say? They started chanting, build the wall, build the wall, build the wall. So clearly there was an absolute mandate for Donald Trump to be elected president of the United States for America to build a wall. For them to say, well, we're not going to give that to you is a slap in the face. This is your Congress, your government slapping you in the face, and then they're going to hold the paychecks of the government workers hostage. They're going to hold amnesty for DACA hostage in order to prevent what you guys voted for, which was a damn wall, and that's what your Congress is doing. And Donald Trump is going to highlight that on a daily basis. This is why he's going to delay declaring a national emergency for a long time. It may be another month before he declares a national emergency. Is he going to get Congress to come over? Maybe, but I'm not even counting on it.
I'm not saying it.
Does that mean he should just say, you know what? We're done waiting. We're going to go ahead and declare. No,
we need more
punishment.
We need more
punishment.
punishment.
He's going to punish. And is it punishment just for the sake of punishment? No, this is politics. This is going to hurt them in the, Congress is up for every 2 years.
Yes, 2020 is coming. Everybody in Congress is up.
Yeah. I think he should delay this for at least another 30 days, maybe 60. I'm talking, they should show government workers suffering for not getting paychecks because it's going to come off as looking like, and rightfully so, that it's Congress. And let me throw this one last thing at you. Do you guys remember the prior shutdowns? That there were shutdowns on Obama's watch? It almost seems unimaginable today that there was a shutdown on Obama's watch. Yeah. Why was that allowed? Do you remember why? Because I sure do. Because it was never thought of as Obama having anything to do with it. It was between the two parties in Congress. In the House, Senate wasn't involved. The president wasn't involved. The judicial branch wasn't involved. Nobody was involved. It was the House of Representatives, and it was always presented as Republicans shut down the government because they don't want to fund all these pork products that the Democrats are throwing out there. They want to rein back spending, and they're gonna shut down the government. They're gonna furlough all these poor.
Because we need $4.2 trillion to carry us over for the next 6 months.
Right, and guess what happened? The Republicans caved. They signed in these huge spending bills.
Paul Ryan signed one in on Obama's last year.
Yeah, so check this out. Are the American people going to agree to make this look like a Trump shutdown, that this is somehow on the president's shoulders? I think no. I think they've overplayed their hand so many times in the past that here we are, fast forward to the future, and this shutdown, people are like, wait a minute. How's the president getting blamed for this shutdown? It's Congress.
Okay.
Now, CNN is going to try their hardest.
I know, but here's the thing. You're not seeing many polls out there right now.
Interesting.
And if you do see a poll from CNN, it will be from CNN.
Interesting.
And yeah. So, and I didn't come up with this, but the campaign manager for Donald Trump's reelection, Brad Parscale.
Parscale. I never actually pronounce it. I always read it on Twitter. Everybody always talks about him, but I never actually pronounce it.
Let's call him Brad.
Braddy boy.
Brad tweeted out something quite interesting.
He's the guy with the beard.
Yeah, and Donald Trump made the comment that, hey, you ain't seen many polls out. I'm not seeing much going on. What's up? So Trump campaign manager Brad just tweeted out, just received my newest voter score tracking from my team. @RealDonaldTrump has reached his highest national approval rating since I started tracking. The Democrats have really made a mistake going with their gut over the data.
It's interesting because I would have never thought, I would have never guessed, even after the fact, that the Democrats were going with gut over data, because they seem like they'll kill babies, they'll do whatever, as long as the data shows that the people are willing, the majority are willing to go along with them on it.
Well, the data shows that people want a wall. They're going with their gut.
I know what they're thinking. I know it. Okay, so this is why they're going against the majority in order to prevent him from getting his wall. So majority want the wall.
Right.
And they're like, I know majority wants it, but we can't give Trump the wall. And that is because they know that regardless of how unpopular it is to oppose the wall, they can make the narrative that Trump failed to build a wall in 2020.
Yes, it's 100%. You and I, we all know that.
Yeah. So that's what they're doing. They're going to pay a heavy political price by not allowing Trump to get his wall, but the end goal is Trump loses his second term.
They will pay the devil whatever he wants to get rid of Trump.
Yeah, well, they're probably going to lose House seats over it.
Yeah. They will absolutely.
Here's where they're screwing up big time. This is a big time mess up on their part. He's got the Trump card, which is
no pun intended. No pun intended. Of course, intended.
He's got the Trump card, and that is, I'll declare a national emergency. They've got to take that into consideration. They've got a losing hand. They've got the losing hand.
They might. If he calls national emergency, they will attempt to twist and malign this so bad that he's going against the will of the people.
Well,
they're trying mentally twist it.
They'll say that he's bypassing Congress, which is unconstitutional. They're already talking about it.
Right.
There are articles out today, search it on yahoo.com or whatnot, that are saying that Trump is talking about doing something unconstitutional. Now, declaring a national emergency is not only not unconstitutional, it's the law, it's the Constitution. What are they talking about here? It's not like he's doing something that wouldn't be allowed. And if you watch Will Chamberlain's scopes and read what he's writing about it, he actually does threads too on Twitter that explain this over the course of like 20 tweets. They're all connected, so you can read it down the line. Not only it's very limited what you can do with the national emergency. There's this false belief by Democrats, or at least they're trying to get you to believe, that declaring a national emergency effectively turns you into a full-blown dictator. Like, oh, I just declared a national emergency. That means I can do whatever. I can abolish the presidency. I can abolish the three branches of government.
I can abolish the 25th Amendment. Now I'm in for good.
I'm in for good. Abolish everything, and now I am the chancellor for life. Hail Trump, all of the above. But that's not the case. No. There's very, very strict guidelines on what you can and can't do under a national emergency. And therefore, a lot of the criticisms of it are unfounded. But at the end of the day, he can use it to build the wall.
Right.
Legally.
And Barack Obama's border chief, Mark Morgan, came out this week, broke his silence, was absolutely livid, and is all in with Donald Trump and the border. And yes, there is a crisis. So that goes in hand. Donald Trump tweeted this out.
We now have an actual humanitarian crisis on the border that only underscores the need to drop the politics and fix our immigration system once and for all.
Okay.
Donald Trump tweeted that out.
Yeah, and he said, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yes, I agree 100%.
Yeah, so that's great. Shows the hypocrisy. And that's another thing. People remember – actually, I didn't. I did not know that Chuck Schumer was so for.
I know you loved that one, didn't you?
I was shocked. I could not – when I heard it, I said somebody had to have done this.
He voted on $8, $9, $10 billion for the 18. I think it was like $18 billion for the wall.
I think it may have been Rush Limbaugh, but if it's not, I'm sorry for giving the wrong person the credit for this. But whoever it was, pointed out, do not misinterpret that as being that Chuck actually wants a wall.
True that. I mean, if they got the money, oh man, the earmarks would come left and right.
Turns out the reason Chuck Schumer said that we need a wall and we need to secure the border was because he knew that was never going to happen. If he knew that it was possible, he absolutely would have said that, because at the end of the day, he really doesn't want a wall. But Jim Acosta decided he is going to
investigative reporting.
Oh, there's so much that people were making fun of. He does a selfie It's basically a daily vlog. And at the border, he goes down and tries to be a citizen journalist.
Yeah, that's exactly. Even Trump Jr. clowned on him. It was too good.
Now, one thing we should point out, these steel slats don't run the entire length of the border here in McAllen, Texas. As a matter of fact, at this point where we're standing right now, there is a chain link fence behind me and then some brush and some trees before you hit the Rio Grande River. Now, talking to folks, there are migrants that come through this area, but a lot of the residents we talk to say this is a very safe community and that they don't see migrants coming into their community causing a lot of crime and mayhem.
And that was, of course, reported by MAGA people that proves that the wall works.
So local station news. I just let the local news tell you what CNN attempted to do.
This went back and forth.
Yes.
This went back and forth. So,
as a sign of the times in this debate on the shutdown, CNN asked if KUSI would provide a reporter to offer our local view of the debate, especially to learn if the wall works in San Diego.
KUSI offered our own Dan Plant, who's reported many times that the wall is not an issue here. In fact, most officials believe it is effective. The issue we face is the migrants and the debate over their treatment.
Now, knowing this, CNN declined to have us on their programs, which often present the wall as not required in other places, like the stretch of the Texas border the president visited earlier today. They didn't like what they heard from us.
It's just some background for you.
So the
CNN decided, whoa, we need damage control here.
Yeah.
So they came out and said, well, you assumed that the reason that we didn't end up using you was because of your stance on the wall compared to what our narrative is. But the truth is that it could have been anything. Maybe there just wasn't enough time to fit you in. Which, by the way, we're in the industry, and let me explain to you how this works. They come and interview you. If they don't have time to put the segment in, they don't put the segment in.
No.
But they come and interview you.
Right.
Because in case they do have extra time, they better have that clip ready to go.
Right.
So that would not have been the reason.
So executives at that news station replied to CNN, said, no. We still stand by our reporting.
Yeah, they were.
No.
Because I don't know if it's Gene McCoster or if it was CNN in general said, look at them backtracking.
I said,
First they said this, and then they're backtracking and saying and admitting that they were wrong, and they came back and said that, which was no, we stand by our original statement.
Yeah, 100%.
So that was awesome.
All right. So with that being said, I beat this thing up. I don't know if I got much more on this stuff. I'm done with it. Well,
you want to talk about the Lindsey Graham thing?
Yeah, I got a clip from him.
Well, we're probably going to run out of time, and I know the clip's really long. I don't know if you got what piece of it.
It's 44 seconds.
Oh, cool. So I'll tell you. I'll set it up with the actual. If I can find it. So Huffington Post came out with what the heck? Okay, I don't know what happened to it. It's on this one. I don't know. Huffington Post came out with an article that about Lindsey Graham. Here it is. Lindsey Graham urges Trump to reopen government before declaring national emergency over borders. So Huffington Post decided we need a narrative change here. We need to. Turns out Lindsey Graham has urged Trump to reopen the government. Now we know Lindsey Graham has twice tweeted that that he wants a wall to be built. In fact, a couple days ago, I think, maybe one day ago, he said, declare the national emergency, build the wall now, and now is in all capital letters. This is a tweet from Lindsey Graham. And so the very next day, Huffington Post is saying that Lindsey Graham has urged Trump to reopen the government. My first initial reaction, and by the way, why is this important? This article was prominently displayed at the top first post of Yahoo. When you type in yahoo.com, the big graphic, you can swipe through multiple articles, but the first one, they're in importance, chronological order of importance. So this was the first one. So they're making sure that this is propagandized everywhere.
Okay. Well, let's get into.
So we need to find out what he really said.
What did he really say? Here's Lindsey Graham.
Those people who work for Homeland Security, who are carrying out the policies you're talking about, who are not going to get paid. What about the Coast Guard?
Yeah, they're being held hostage. They're being held hostage by people who say you need $1 to secure the border. They're being held hostage by people.
So you don't
who
want to
accuse
open the
them
government and then continue talking?
I do want to open up the government.
I do want to open up the government. That's all they needed him to say to get their story. Here's the
it turns out, and you didn't get.
Here's the other 20 seconds.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The goal is not to open up the government. The goal is to fix a broken immigration system, to bring reality to this table that ICE is not the problem, it's the solution. The goal is to repair a damaged, broken immigration system, is to implement policies Democrats have voted for in the past on President Trump's watch. We're not going to give in to this radical left ever until...
Now, that's what he said. How did Huffington Post come out with that?
He said, yeah, I want to open up the government, but opening up the government is not the goal. The goal is to fix this broken system.
But the headline says Lindsey Graham urges Trump to reopen government before declaring national emergency.
I wish I got paid. So I really wish I could get paid for just making garbage. How do they get paid to make garbage up out of thin air?
Oh, it's actually a bold-faced lie. So what they're trying to get you to believe is that Lindsey Graham backtracked and said, no, you know what? I know I told you to build a wall. I know I told you to declare a national emergency. But you know what? There's so much pressure. I got 800,000 government workers emailing me, calling me. I can't take this pressure anymore. How about this? I know I told you to do the national emergency, and I know I told you to build that wall right now. But could you please just open the government just temporarily for right now so that I don't have to take this pressure anymore? You just heard Lindsey Graham. That is not the tone he has at all. He wants this wall to be built under all circumstances, any circumstances, and nothing will happen until the wall gets funded.
Yep, and that's about it on the border wall.
All right.
Russia!
You got to show it. Oh, my God.
Russia!
Anyways, that's...
Okay, so now we know that Donald Trump is a Russian asset. That was going wild and viral on Twitter and social media.
Who made that one? Is that a Carpe Dunkum one?
Yeah, that was Carpe Dunkum.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Carpe Dunkum. But yeah, they absolutely went viral that Donald Trump is a Russian asset because the New York Times wrote an article that the FBI was so afraid of Russian collusion when Donald Trump fired James Comey that the FBI then ran by McCabe, disgraced, fired McCabe, launched an investigation into Donald J. Trump for Russian because they thought he was a Russian asset. That article was written, and now, all weekend long, I had to look at all these idiots posting all kinds of garbage about Trump, Russia, asset.
No, they're just crazy. I mean,
that's all they were doing all day long. I mean, even this one by the absolutely insane, who has me blocked, by the way, Joy Reid.
Oh, she's, yeah.
Total insanity on her show.
Malcolm Nance, you and I have been doing this since July, is it, of 2016. We've been having the same conversation. You've written 2 books with the same message in them. But it is extraordinary that we are now not really talking about that. We're talking about a fresh investigation into the sitting president of the United States. As he is being president and performing the duties of the presidency, being investigated as a potential asset of Russia. I'm going to give you the last word on this. I'm sure this isn't the last word on this. We're going to keep talking about it.
Okay, I don't want to talk about her anymore. Here's the thing. She just set that question up and said, the way she worded it and the way she said it, a fresh investigation into the allegation, into Donald Trump being a Russian asset. It's a fresh investigation, Carrie. It's fresh.
I don't think you could put enough Febreze on that. Ain't no fresh about that.
Ain't no fresh about that. We're talking way back when Comey was fired.
It's like an open sewer. It's so disgusting and rotten and wretched. They don't have anything. They still don't have anything. I'll tell you what, if they knew that they were going to have to stretch this out this long.
I think they'd have found something else.
I think if I could have put together a presentation of how long they were going to have to go on this, and all the hoops, the fire hoops that they were going to have to jump through to make this thing still seem viable. Put it in a time machine, go back in time and show them right before they're about to launch this whole fake news narrative. Guys, 2.5 years later, nothing happened in your favor, and you're still trying to present this as if it's real. I mean, it's going to take years off your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they may have said, you know what, let's try a different tactic. This is not going to work.
How about a flashback? I know Dan Bongino keeps talking about paragraph 1. Paragraph 1, if you're an investigator and you're investigating a situation, or if you're a cop, your first paragraph of your report details exactly what happened, how it came about. Just like an overview. Paragraph 1. The guy put a ski mask. He bought ski mask and a gun and a knife, and he went and robbed the bank, and then he went home. Paragraph 1. Well, there's a flashback. Maxine Waters kind of spilling the beans on the paragraph 1, if you will.
Okay.
Made clear to our viewers and listeners is that, look, the inauguration represented the beginning of his second term.
Yes.
But it also represented the countdown of the end of his presidency.
That's right.
And the reality is, like anything else, you better get what you can while he's there, because, look, come 2016, that's it.
Well, I don't know, and I think some people are missing something here. The president has put in place an organization that contains the kind of database that no one has ever seen before in life. That's going to be very, very powerful, and whoever...
In terms of the Organizing for America that he's now shifting to become a 501c4.
Yeah, that's right. And that database will have information about everything on every individual in ways that it's never been done before, and whoever runs for president on the Democratic ticket have to deal with that. They're going to have to go down with that database and the concerns of those people because they can't get around it. And he's been very smart. I mean, it's very powerful what he's leaving in place, and I think that's what any Democratic candidate is going to have to deal with.
Okay.
So it's very powerful what he's leaving in place.
Called a deep state. Now she says it's a database, and like it's a computer program or a warehouse full of servers or whatnot.
I think she means a database like documents, information.
I think she was talking about documents is one thing, but I think that she only saw the tip of the iceberg. If he was willing to do that, have a database on every single person, every single bit of information, and leaving it for Democrats to use. So this would be a government entity put together by the government using taxpayer funds in order to give Democrats an unfair advantage in democracy, the democratic process of us going and electing our representatives. If that's just the tip of the iceberg, then yeah, he also not only did the database, but he put together people who would be permanent government employees who would carry out his bidding long after he's gone.
Absolutely, 100%.
And that's called the deep state. And that's not a conspiracy theory.
It's fact.
We've already seen it and proved that what we described as the deep state was 100% accurate, which was just permanent employees who were put in place by Barack Obama specifically to carry out his agenda even after he's gone from office.
Okay, so now if this is true, that there was an investigation opened up into Donald Trump, who's lying? Was it Andy McKay, Rod Rosenstein, the FBI director, Wray, who lied to Trump and Congress and said that he was not under investigation? We all know all the top officials, the FBI, DOJ, did lie to President and Congress. They're all lies, every one of them. So that's the flashback for her. Judicial Watch is on the ground. A lot of great things they're doing right now. Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch, in a ruling excoriating both the State Department and the DOJ. U.S. District Court Judge Lampert ordered both agencies to join Judicial Watch in submitting a discovery plan to whether Hillary Clinton tried evading a FOIA by using her private email system. That's big because the same deep state protected her and favored her over Donald Trump. Also, Judicial Watch, a big, huge judgment, huge win out in California. Los Angeles County agrees to remove. L.A., you got a chance, man. God himself just breathed life back into you. The county agrees to remove 1.5 million inactive voters.
Which I think they need to have a system that works in order to have the safest and fairest election possible every single time it happens.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, what do you think she is?
I think she's still alive, and at her age and with the type of surgery that she had, I don't think she's going to fully recover. We hope she does.
Yes, say
but
a prayer.
I'm telling you right now,
God bless.
pray for her family. But if she fully recovers from that, that would be amazing.
It would be a miracle. Not only that, but I think this is her third or fourth battle with cancer.
I was talking to my mom about the death of my grandmother, and then my wife, the death of her grandmother. Very similar, where they were healthy, everything was fine, but they were in their 80s, both of them, and something came up where they had to have surgery. And both of them did not even come close to recovering at all.
Look at John McCain. He got that surgery pretty quick, and then I'm shocked. He did well for a long time, but then all of a sudden it was
like several months,
yeah.
Right? But when it comes down, like both of them had major surgeries, and I don't know why. I guess just naivety. We were just all like, "Oh yeah, well, just have this surgery and fine." But they were major surgeries. They were in their 80s, I believe, both of them in their mid 80s. And they just didn't recover from that. It's it's so hard for somebody in their mid 80s to have a major surgery and to actually fully recover. It's just really tough. So I think that if she does recover enough to where she survives it and everything's fine, I don't think that she'll have it in her to continue, and I do think that she's going to resign.
Yeah. So if you thought thought the Kavanaugh, if you think all of this is too much and you want the fighting and the anger to go away, that ain't happening.
Right. And
we are in the battle of a lifetime right now for our sovereignty as United States of America.
And here's what you need to know. When Donald Trump had his first pick, he was replacing Scalia.
Yeah.
Antonin Scalia. He was considered one of the most conservative, logical thinking, constitutional.
One of the greatest minds. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you look at his what he wrote on some of his decisions, it's just pure brilliance, right? The guy was perfect justice. And when he died, obviously he died before Trump got into office.
We were shocked.
And the fact that they didn't give too much trouble that we didn't allow Obama to replace him.
But we had the House and the Senate, so there's just no way.
And they knew it.
The Republicans were a no.
But they
didn't do anything.
They didn't make a big stink about it. They could have been like, "This is outrageous. This is racist." All this kind of stuff. They didn't.
They were mad. They were mad.
Right, but there wasn't like headlines on a daily basis about it.
When they also thought Hillary's going to win.
Fast forward to Kennedy retiring. Here's a guy who's a swing voter.
Right, he's a swinger.
Being replaced by a guy who we're being told is a very, he's like a Ted Cruz pick.
Oh, I was told he was something else, but.
Right, no, well, he was on the list.
Oh, right.
He was on the list, and people like your Mike Lees and your Ted Cruz and all that, what we consider the conservative wing.
We'll get this guy in real quick.
Yeah, well, they wanted him. the Democrats fought hard on Kavanaugh. I contend that the reason Scalia's replacement was a lot easier was because they were like, well, that's a conservative seat.
It really is conservative. Yeah.
Now you have your swing seat. This is BS.
This could be for us. This could be for us.
This is BS that you put in a conservative on a swing seat. Now, some people are probably listening to me like right now, like, whoa, what are you talking about, swing seat? What do you mean conservative seat? And what do you mean by hard left communist seat? The reason I frame it all like that is because this is what is in the minds of the Democrats. They not only do they believe it and they want it to be true, they want to propagandize all of the American citizens and voters and supporters and whatnot, their constituency, that somebody like a Ruth Bader Ginsburg must be replaced with somebody of like temperament, ideology, all the above. So they're going to demand that at the very worst, a moderate be put into place there.
So breaking news, White House is currently preparing for a possible RGB departure. American Sovereignty News reports.
Yep.
This by Sebastian Gorka. I have a lot of respect for him. I have more respect for him, and I like the things that he does and says, and he's usually pretty right.
Yeah.
Compared to the other one that left at about the similar time. Sebastian Gorka, multiple sources tonight tell me this woman is not even in D.C., but in New York and preparing to step down from the Supreme Court. Are you ready for what will ensue, folks? I'm here to tell you right now. We've got 6 more years, 5.5 more years, 6 more years. This is going to be the fight of a lifetime because they will not stop for their power.
And I'll tell you why it's going to be so
their
ugly.
life, their money, their power, it's like taking a crackhead or somebody addicted to heroin, crack, and meth all at one time.
And just doing cold turkey.
And going dry.
Cold turkey.
Cold turkey.
Well, and here's another thing why it's going to be so ugly. This is why it's going to be so ugly. Some people say, well, Kerry, we picked up Senate seats. And the Senate confirms the Supreme Court justice picks. So wouldn't this be easier? No, it's going to be uglier because Trump is going to get his number one pick through. So during the lead up to the confirmation, the minority party, the Democrats, are going to sling mud like you have never seen. Why? Because it's their only option. If the Senate was majority Democrat, there would be no mudslinging. They'd be like, pick somebody else. Pick somebody else. Right. And if Trump finally comes out with somebody like super moderate that they made a secret deal with, hey, you're going to be a Democrat, right? On the seat.
Yeah, let's hope that Donald Trump's pick for AG, Bill Barr, and the reports about his wife being friends with Mueller's wife is not true.
I heard that Barr is BFFs with Mueller. So
we got some problems here.
I don't know what they're thinking, or some of my friends in the inner circle are they're like, what is going on here?
So a guy that follows us and we follow him, he's pretty popular on Twitter. FUCT Mike at.
Why can't you just pronounce it?
You say it then.
No.
He replaces the F word. He replaces the K with the letter T.
Oh, there used to be an actual real live company called that. FUCT. That was the name of the company.
Nice.
It was a skateboard company.
He tweeted out, just so everyone is aware, there will never be a president in your lifetime as great as this man.
Yeah. People that are saying, where's the next Trump? We need to find somebody to replace Trump. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. So how do we make you feel better right now? By simply saying that we won't need him if we help him fully make America great again.
Support new news media, New Right Network, Smyth Radio, SmythTV.com. Support us, and we are supporting Donald Trump. We're supporting America first. Make America great again. That's how we make America great again. Getting rid of the establishment, taking over the GOP. Voila. All right, peace out. See ya.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.